All right, give us 1 second here, stream. Almost ready to go. Meanwhile, I'm gonna unmute so you guys can talk in the stream.
We're live?
They can hear you, yeah. They can hear you, yeah.
Great. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the final run of JRTA4.
Oh, baby, and what a marathon it has been.
It has been. Great.
Yeah, that's why I said to take Darko's.
He is. Yes.
Yep.
He's waiting the power on.
I see Darko on the file select. Hello, welcome to Dragon Quest III.
Hello. Welcome to Dragon Quest III. I think so.
Is there...
Hell yeah.
Nice. I think I speak for everybody when I say that.
Hello. Welcome to Dragon Quest III.
Hello, welcome to Dragon Quest III.
Stream, are you ready for Dragon Quest III?
I think that sounds like a yes.
Can I get some JRTA Chiho in the chat if you're excited? Okay, I'm thinking we're gonna get started here, so I'm gonna give a countdown in the chat. And we'll get started shortly.
All right, we are off. Here we are, the final run of JRTA4, playing some Dragon Quest III. This is a very special game. It's a very, very special Japanese competitive speed run. I'm here with Countdown, who's going to help navigate the stream through what's going on. This is a very complicated game. There's a lot of elements, but we're going to try to boil it down to the basics as to what to look out for. But we're going to be seeing an awesome race. These two guys are extremely talented runners, and it's going to be a journey. Countdown?
Oh yeah. Speaking of journey, we start here with the personality test, and they're going to be answering a couple of different questions. I believe the first question is one of like 5 or 6, and then depending on how you answer that, you'll get asked several other questions, and how you answer that determines the personality trait of your hero. And personality traits pretty much determine your rate of stat growths for each of your different stats. And I believe both of them are doing Lazy Hero. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right.
Okay, so basically the lazy personality gives us a high stamina stat, which is linked to our HP and defense. And yeah, so that's going to be important, especially in the late game and on the final boss.
Yeah, totally. You might think like, personality, stat growths may matter a little bit, but kind of have some color on your run. No, it's incredibly important. Each one of the characters that they get are going to have very, very specific personalities. Because if you're familiar with Dragon Quest III or Dragon Warrior 3, basically you start with the hero, but you can take up to 3 party members with you. And you can choose any class you want, like warrior, mage, or thief, or whatever. So we have very, very specific roles that are chosen to get through the game as quickly as possible. And not only are the classes really important, but the stat growths are really, really important. So
yeah, this is unlike any of the later Dragon Quests. You do not have like set characters like Hassan or Muriel. You have basically what are generic characters, and you get 5 seeds when you pick each character that you get to distribute between their stats. Pretty much for all 3 characters, we're going to be giving them straight to the stamina stat. And an immediate effect you'll notice is when they hit level 2, their HP values are going to jump in a huge way. And you want to explain a little bit how that works, since you know a lot more about it than I do?
Yeah, totally. So if you think about this game, and if you are familiar with the fact that you can change classes, when you get to level 20, you have the ability to go back to level 1 and change a new class. And when that happens, all of your stats are halved. So the game has a kind of a correcting system to say, okay, you're back at level 1, but your stats are comparatively high, therefore the formula won't give you as many growths. And what that means is that the game has internal mechanics about the way that it compares your level to your current stat and then tries to true you up to where you should be. So in a nutshell, what that means is that what you're seeing here in all these crazy menus is that they're boosting their stamina stats so that when they reach to level 2, the game's auto-correcting formula says, okay, you're only level 2, but your stats are way higher for stamina. Therefore, you're going to get a massive HP boost. So watch out for that on the characters. It's not going to be the hero. It's going to be the other 3 characters. When they get to level 2, they're going to get like plus 25 to 35 HP.
Yeah, and that's huge, especially for navigating some of the, well, I shouldn't say early game, but early run stuff, because quite early on we're going to be going into some areas that are a little difficult. You might say the enemies are pretty strong, and the game expects you to be a higher level, and doing this to get a key item pretty much right off the bat, so that we can continue the quest as fast as possible.
Yeah, totally. We'll get through that in about 20 minutes or so. We'll see how they fare, but we're basically going to be going to areas that you're not supposed to go to yet, but you technically can go to. It's just you're massively underleveled.
Yes, and the Another factor in this character creation sequence is also they're trying to get a distinct personality on each of the different generic party members as well. It not only matters for the hero, but for all 4 party members. So if you see them and they get a pretty high roll for all of their seeds and they reset anyway, that's because they did not get the personality type that was desired. And it looks like Pop was out of there in pretty timely fashion. Darko's still rolling for the warrior.
Totally. And this is just going to show that you really do want to be strict, especially in a race setting, to just guarantee your survivability. So if you're kind of confused at what's happening with Darko, he's re-rolling the same character and trying to get a specific personality. It's a little hard to read in Japanese, but there's a little text box that tells you what the personality is. He is just keep on re-rolling this warrior so he gets the tough guy personality, which is 140% vitality boost comparatively to like a norm case personality. So it's like much better for HP growth.
Go ahead.
Very quickly, before we get too involved here, I just want to remind everybody, there's still a prize for this run, and then there's 3 of them. 3 copies of this game we're giving away if you donate at least $5 during this game. So plenty of chances to win still if you donate at least $5.
You too can be a legend. Just
Anyway,
like these 2 gamers right here.
Didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, it's cool. It's cool. I forgot what I was going to say, but don't worry about it, man.
Okay, so Pop's a little bit ahead right now. Darko just finished rolling his characters. Maybe we can take a step back and say what they're doing right now. So they're trying to fight some battles along the way. It looks like Pop's probably about to get some level ups. So check out the warrior, check out the HP growth. Next time they heal, you'll see all of the HP that they have now. Instead of 12, they'll have like 40. So what they're doing is progressing through Najimi Tower to get the Thief's Key, but they do want to fight some stuff along the way. My guess is that these guys will either get to level 2 or level 3 before they get to the Pyramid, which is the next major section. We'll talk about that then. The way these battles are set up is that a fair amount of them are just too either dangerous or too slow, so that they'll just straight up run from them. And generally, survivability isn't too much of a problem right now. But if they can end the battle quickly, then they do want to get some level ups. So they'll fight typically a few things here and there. The other thing they have to watch out for is how much MP their mage has. So if you see what Pop's about to do here, he's about to go to the inn in this area and restore his MP on the mage so that she can keep casting the blaze spell. So there's a little bit of a balance between how efficient you are at ending battles versus how much resources you use.
Well, Pop's trying to take it really safe here with this last enemy. Okay, looks like he made it out. He's a pretty low HP there, and if you're not really familiar with the Dragon Quest series, when your party members die, they don't automatically revive when you use an inn. You actually have to consult a priest, and you pay them a certain amount of money that's calculated based on your party member's level, I believe, through some equation. And you pay him the money, and it revives your character to full.
Yeah, so if you compare it to like a Final Fantasy where you get Phoenix down, you can kind of just buy them here and there. Death in this game, especially in the speedrun, is like very, very, very time costly. So you just avoid it as much as you can. In the battle that Countdown was just talking about, Pop was playing it very safe to make sure his weak characters were defending so they didn't die.
Yeah, the mage especially. She starts with pretty low HP, and you really want her to level up ASAP. Yeah.
So where we are at now, Pop is at basically the top of the tower, and Darko is in the basement of the tower. And so Pop will be leaving here and heading towards a new cave soon. So I would say Pop's probably about like 2 minutes ahead. And you might be thinking, oh, it's like super early in the run. He's already 2 minutes ahead. Trust me, like, believe me, it won't matter. There's so many situations that'll cause a swing here and there throughout this run that, we're going to do our best to kind of tell you, the stream, like, where they are comparatively, but never think that anybody's out. Even until the very final boss, like, anything can happen. And that's not to say it's just, like, a completely random game where anything can happen, and therefore it's not really skill-based. It's like, every single specific action they take and every choice they make will influence how well they do given the RNG that they're, the randomness that they're presented with.
Yeah, I mean, everything down to the random encounter formations that they're going to be getting are situations that a player of this game needs to be familiar and comfortable with handling, and doing so as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, it looks like Darko, his thief, took a death, but it shouldn't be too much of a time loss, especially this early in the game. You know, it doesn't cost too much gold, and you walk right by the church in this town here. So, Reeve, yes.
Yeah. So
Okay.
she does want to get some levels, the thief, but I think she might be level 2. But either way, in terms of like survivability, you definitely want to have all your characters alive.
Yeah, and they also did a little shop menu in that town, I believe. They sold all of their remaining gear that they didn't need from when they got characters out of Ruda's Tavern, and I believe a strength seed or an agility seed, something that they found, a luck seed, that's it. And they just bought a couple of herbs and some chimera wings, which allow you to warp to any town that you have currently visited. Just a couple of things that they'll need for the early game.
Yep. So actually, if you look at both of their streams, it technically Darko made up a little bit of time, but Pop decided to fight some battles, and he got to level 3 on his first 2 characters. And basically, he's doing kind of race strats, being a little bit safer than he ordinarily would be. And that's just to ensure survivability in the section coming up. Basically, they like every single HP value that they get to their characters is like it could make or break the situation, especially in a race. So.
Yeah, the aforementioned pyramid segment. Most of the enemies there can basically two-shot your characters, and in certain situations, if it comes down to it, depending on, I don't know if they're going to get any of the safety equipment, but it could come down to, you know, them living with 1 HP on one character because of a good stat, HP growth on a stat level up.
Yeah.
They need
Darko-
literally all of the HP that they can get at this point.
Darko took a very, very big risk with that fight. That is admittedly, it's probably the worst fight, 3 Babbles, 3 Wasps, because the Babbles can poison you. They do a lot of damage, but that fight can end fairly quickly because they have low HP and they give a lot of EXP. But he took a big risk. Warrior goes down. The other characters get EXP, which is nice, but the Warrior is definitely your tankiest at the beginning of the game. So I think Darko is having a rough start here, but if he can make it through this cave, they'll pretty much be on equal footing. Pop might have a slight advantage because 2 of his characters are level 3, but you know, this cave that Darko's entering and Pop is going through now is not too dangerous. Sometimes things can go wrong. Those purple bunny rabbits, they're called Almirage, they can cast sleep on you, and it's actually pretty terrifying if all your characters go to sleep. Sleep is a status in this game that's like incredibly overpowered. Later on, we're going to be getting, these guys will be getting sleep staves, but that's way later, and they can cast sleep on command without having to pay anything for it, basically. No MP, it's just an item. But when enemies use it on you, it's the same effect, and it's just a devastating lose a turn status that can last up to multiple turns, and it's just a pure percent roll whether or not you wake up, so it's pretty rough.
Yeah, and most enemies that can put you to sleep, it's not a single target. Like they will use sleep on everybody in your party, and so it rolls for each character. And then having a character that's just not able to do anything for a turn can get pretty dicey.
Totally.
And also, I guess one thing we didn't talk about, so running away in this game, in a lot of cases, well, it depends on where you are in the run, but usually it's more beneficial to get some levels and to end the fight quickly but there are certain places and certain encounter groups that you just want to run away from. And running away in this game, I believe every time you run away and fail, it increases your chances by 25%. Is that right? Until it becomes 100%?
That's right, starting at 25%. Yep.
Yep. So on your fourth try, you will always run away. But if you're running away for the fourth time, likely your party members have taken a significant amount of damage or have gotten some status effects. So that can bite you.
Totally.
Running away is not always the best strategy.
Yeah. And I think one of the more complex parts of this game, and a very complex game to begin with, is choosing your battles, right? You might think like, oh, I can finish this fight quickly, but you have to consider if you run away, whether or not it's going to cost you time to heal. If you fight it, is it worth the EXP to save you time later? Like, it's a very complex situation for pretty much every fight. I will say, though, so on Pop's stream, he's going towards the pyramid, and this segment of the game in the next like 7 or 8 minutes, fingers crossed, is pretty much run from everything and heal up. The rest of the game isn't like that too much, but this stretch definitely is. So he's just gonna trudge on through.
Oh yeah. And so starting pretty much when you come out of that forest, those forest tiles there is when the encounter zone changes and the monsters become incredibly strong for the low levels that you're at. These apes especially can do a lot of damage. Getting those cat flies is a little bit safer. You're kind of looking for cat flies, right? Because they will usually cast surround to decrease your.
But yeah.
Oh, is it stop spell? Okay.
So it's basically meaningless, yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's not something you have to worry about. It actually wastes a turn, gives you a turn to run away, a nice buffer. But yeah, getting the ape enemies there can be pretty bad if you don't get the first or second try run.
Yeah, totally. So some enemies in this game have an attack. Okay, so I'll explain it briefly. Every enemy in this game has 8 different action slots, and some enemies have a regular attack that has an added chance of critical as one of their 8 slots. So the cat flies, unfortunately, do have the ability to critical you, and the apes do as well, but not every enemy in the game can crit you. This is why most bosses can't crit you. Actually, the only boss we see that can crit you is Boss Troll. But, as we go along, there will be some enemies that you have to be wary that you can get critted from.
Yeah, and another kind of added layer to, figuring out whether or not you're going to take this encounter is the way that the enemies are grouped, and part of knowing instantly whether or not you can beat this fight fast. Tonic was talking about whether it's worth the time for the experiences. Generally, can I take these different groups out? Because in Dragon Quest III, you can't attack multiple enemies that are in different groups, and sometimes you'll get several groups of the same enemy. So that's something you kind of have to take into account. You can see it on the box on the right side of the battle screen. It gives the enemy name and a number. So that's another thing that these runners have to take into consideration. But again, for now, they're just going to be running. And it looks like Pop is actually taking the safe strat of heading straight for Isis first before going to the pyramid.
Yeah, 2 characters died, so he pretty much had to. All right, so
yes.
We had a kind of a mix-up here. Pop went to the town before. He got some safety armor, which was kind of the smart thing to do. Darko, realizing that he's probably way behind, which he actually wasn't that far behind because Pop was taking his time as well, went to the town but didn't get any backup armor and went straight to the pyramid. So Darko now is in the pyramid with 1 character down. He's just going to roll his chances, whereas Pop had 2 characters died along the way, so he went to the town that's going to be coming up next to heal his 2 characters, then he's going to go up to the pyramid and try. But yeah, technically this is a lead shift. This floor that Darko is on right now, you have to hit 4 buttons to get through. This is by far the most dangerous part of the pyramid. One of the most dangerous parts of the run. It's a major reset point. It's definitely the number 1 reset point in the game in terms of just pure chances of getting through. Let's see how Darko makes out. This is an incredibly scary fight, and he gets through. It's usually on average 2 fights in this area. just hitting the button is really good, meaning that he won't have to do the button puzzle again. But yeah, this is looking pretty tight for Darko.
Yeah,
Now-
that was a good choice. That was a good call by on him. Looks like his gamble's paying off.
Totally. And you might be confused as to what Pop is doing now. We can talk about it a little bit later, but that kind of has to do with efficiency and picking up items. Pop, went to get the meteorite armband, and it'll save him a little bit of time later, but he's still technically behind. Whereas Darko just got the thief's key, the magic key, which is the whole point of going to the pyramid. So it's a major breath of relief to say, okay, I got the magic key. Now I can kind of progress with the speed run. Pop still has to do it. He's going to go up and he's just going to make it work.
Yeah, the other added, element to going to Isis early and getting the key and the meteorite armband is that if Pop wipes in the pyramid, he can warp wing back to Isis and start from there. He doesn't have to walk all the way from Asaram. So, and we've got, looks like Darko's getting it all the way to the top, and he'll be walking off and heading down to the town.
Oh! Okay, so Pop had one character die, but his hero got hit on the last attack of that last battle that he failed to run away 3 times, and the hero dodged the attack, so he survived.
Yes.
Whew. Okay, cool. So Darko, having the magic key and has access to the vault at nighttime, is going to raid Isis and get a whole bunch of stuff. Basically, he's going to get 13,000 gold, a little bit more than that, actually, and going to use it to beef up all of his characters with a bunch of different equipment. Pop is entering the very dangerous floor. Let's see how he does. Already has one character down. That's an early encounter. Every fight here is lethal, can easily wipe your party.
Yeah, and it should be noted that throughout the run, you'll see them kind of enter and exit doorways and stairwells, anything that is a screen transition to reset the encounter rate. But you can't do that in the middle of the puzzle. If you try and reset the encounter rate before you've completed the button puzzle, it resets the puzzle. So they have to make it through without dying and without resetting the encounter rate.
Pop in a tight spot. He's probably going to get one more fight. Let's see how he does. Okay, so he hit the buttons, which are really good, meaning that he won't have to do the button puzzle again. Let's see how this fight goes. Come on, 2. Oh, he got ambushed.
Oh no.
He's doing okay. Come on. Oh, baby. Making it through. Both characters still up. Looking hot.
And not only that, I mean, the mummy attacking the thief there instead of the hero was huge because having that was just the difference between having 1 and 2 characters alive.
And it's official. We got 2 magic key in. Very, very good.
Yes.
So the speed run will progress. Pop had a little bit of a mix up there, getting through the desert, but even just going to the pyramid once is a huge success. So the both of them are going to be continuing on with the run. Pop might have to do something slightly unoptimal if he dies on the way back, but he's trying to make it so that he goes back to Isis at nighttime. But yeah, okay, so very briefly, I said before that when they go to the vault, they get about 13,000 gold. In a nutshell, what they do is they get iron armor and iron helmets for the hero and the warrior, and they get a steel sword for the warrior so he can do some damage in the next boss fight. And they also they're going to buy steel whips for the hero and the thief in the next town. So they basically make their hero and their warrior tanky, so they'll put them in the front of their party. You want to talk about the front of the party versus the back of the party quick?
Yeah. So in Dragon Quest, I believe it's true in most, if not all, of the games. The party member that's at the front of the party is more likely to be attacked, and I believe is it just that it is more like the first person is more likely, or does it become increasingly more likely as it, per character?
Yeah. It's 40, 30, 20, 10%.
40, 30, 20, 10. Okay. So you're gonna see they'll be switching party orders somewhat frequently throughout the run, just to play to that sort of mechanic, depending on which characters are strong, which characters are low level, which characters they absolutely need to have alive, etc.
All right, so yep, Darko's in the lead. He took care of all of his shopping in the previous town, so he's out of there. You go back to your hometown, Alihan, to get some more vault treasures with that fabled magic key that you just picked up in the pyramid. Here, you're going to be getting a rune staff, which is actually a pretty strong weapon for the mage in the short term, but we're going to sell it later. You get a whole bunch of stat seeds. We'll talk about stat seeds more in a little while. Pick up a bunch of gold, and then the hero's armband, which is plus, I think it's plus 15. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's plus 15 attack power, which is used for the rest of the run. It's just like a great accessory to have on a attacker.
Yeah, they'll be switching the meteorite armband and the hero's armband back and forth pretty frequently, actually, depending on which character they want to do the most damage and which character is going to be they want to go the fastest. Because the meteorite armband, as we said, increases their speed by quite a bit.
Double their speed.
It's double? Is it just 2 times?
2 times their innate agility stat, yep.
Okay. And the other thing that I don't know that you mentioned, the other thing they're going to be spending their gold on in these menus in ISIS is basically a ton of warp wings and herbs. The herbs will cut down on the MP usage for instead of having to cast, heal or heal more. And then of course the warp wings they won't have to cast return with the hero.
Yep. All right, quick pressure moment. Darko is walking towards Portoga. This is a scary walk. He grinded out encounters. They had the lowest chance of getting into an encounter in the more dangerous area. Makes it through. You can easily wipe your party in one of those bad fights. 4 times lump. Never trust a 4 times lump fight.
My man Lump.
Yeah. This is what I was talking about before. When we were in the tower, Pop was about 2 minutes ahead of Darko. Now, Darko is about 3 minutes ahead of Pop. So, and this is only the first, 20% of the game. Probably a little less than that, yeah.
Yeah, we're not even 30 minutes into the run. I mean, anything could happen. It looks like Pop actually rolled Iron Man on his thief, I believe. So he's going to be getting this Courage 100 book that he will be using to change the thief's personality to its desired tough guy, I believe. Does it just change it to tough guy?
Oh, it changes it to Courage times 100 is the book. I think it's called Hot-Blooded. I think that's the translation. Basically, it's not something that you can just roll on a character on creation, but it boosts agility gains. And that's especially helpful for the thief that turns into a sage later.
Yeah, once we get the thief into a sage, having all of that added agility is huge, because the sage is mostly going to be casting supporting and healing magic. And that's most important in some of the later boss fights.
Yeah. Now that we're kind of done through that huge, tight section of getting through the pyramid, maybe we can talk a little bit about the classes. And so we have 4 party members. We have the hero, who does not change classes. It's just not a functionality that the hero can go under. So the hero has a relatively, it's sort of like an exponential curve for EXP growth from level 1 to level, technically throughout its entire life, but from level 1 to level 25, basically what you need to know is that the hero is going to be lower level than everybody else until about 17 or 18, and then is going to skyrocket comparatively from 18 to 25, which is pretty much the max you'll see in a speedrun. So that's kind of important because there will be instances in which the hero needs a little bit more EXP than others during the grind. But anyways, that's kind of an aside. Generally, what you need to know about the hero is that the hero is going to be the main attacker for the last 50% of the game, and it has better stat growth even than a warrior for attack. So watch out for that. The warrior, the second character in their party right now, is the tanky. Oh, 4 times lump.
Oh no!
No! Always getting the baggy special. Boggy is Infernos. Oh! I'm so no. This is so bad.
no!
This is so.
Things are not looking good for Pop.
No.
Oh, the miss!
That was one turn.
Oh,
One turn.
no.
He got double. No, I think it was 3 times. Yeah, the last move was Boggy. He got Infernos 3 times physical.
Oh, that's rough.
That's the Aether TA special right there. Okay, so naturally, Pop knew that he was in a race. He could have sold items in a more optimal way before, but he chose to not sell all of his expensive stuff and hang on to that gold. So instead of having gold where you lose half your gold upon wiping out, he will actually be able to still sell that item. It's still a time loss, and he will lose some money, but it could be worse. But still, that's you don't want to see that happen.
Yeah.
Anyways.
That's about the worst encounter and the worst run luck that you could get in that situation. That's about worst case scenario that we were describing there. So very
totally.
unfortunate.
There are other fights there that are like dangerous and somebody could die, but that is the worst, hands down.
Yeah, and it sucks because you're right before Portuga, and once you get to Portuga, you finally buy the chain whips, and that's pretty much when you like are fully powered up, and you're a low level, right? But you've got all of this high powered equipment for how low level you are, so you can actually start just ripping through fights.
Totally.
And so he was like a couple of steps away from freedom, and unfortunately the lumps cut him down.
Yep, so he'll try again. Let me just finish up my train of thought before. Hero is going to be the main attacker for the last half of the game. He's kind of a weakling in the beginning of the game. The second character, Warrior, is going to be tanky throughout the entire game. Will be used for attacking in the first, 30%, but pretty much is just a tank. The Thief is going to level up to get the ability Tiptoe, which is going to decrease encounters. We'll talk about that later. And, wow, 5 times mushrooms. So the Thief is going to turn into a Sage later, so Sage learns both Cleric and Mage spells. And the Sage is just generally an incredible class. And then finally, the last character is a Mage now that's going to learn a whole bunch of spells and then turn into a Warrior to also be kind of tanky, but also have some utility with some spells.
Yeah, the most important of which is the By-Kill spell, which I can't remember, it's 1.5 or 2 times the attack. 2. So it doubles the attack of the recipient of the spell. We will be leveling up the Mage to level 21 in a grind segment later. And the Mage has a 50% chance to learn it at 21. If she does not learn it at 21, she has a 50% chance to learn it at 22, 23, and so on. So I believe in a race setting, what they're going to be doing is saving when the Mage is just a few hundred experience from leveling up, one encounter, essentially, and then go outside of the Dharma Shrine and grind it out.
Yeah.
But that'll come in some tens of minutes from now.
Yeah. Yep. So let's get an update as to what they're doing. So Pop is quite a bit behind now, unfortunately. Darko is in the tower. He's about to fight Kandar 1. In the Super Famicom version of this game, you have to fight both Kandar 1 and Kandar 2 to progress the game. And basically, you want to get your levels to between 4 and 6, depending on the characters, somewhere around there. And Darko wants to get another level on his Mage because the Mage, just like Content was just talking about, has the ability to learn 2 skills, one of which is Upper, the other is Ice Bolt, and it's a 50-50 shot. Unfortunately, did not get it. Didn't get a level up on the Mage, so wow. This encounter that Darko just got, it's not dangerous, but it's incredibly unlikely. All right, anyways. So yeah. Oh, but he leveled up and got Ice Bolt spell. How fortunate. Nice. That's kind of crazy. Okay. Anyways. Yeah, so you want to level up around 4 to 6. If you get a little bit more levels, you'd be a little bit more tanky for the fight. But like we just talked about, we just got 13,000 gold. We stacked our party, and we have a decent setup to take down Kandar, even at level average 5, which you would probably by most people's standards still be under-leveled, which is pretty much the theme throughout this entire run. But yeah, so Pop is going to make his way over there. He's going to fight some fights. Let's talk about Kandar. Yeah. So Kandar comes with 3 henchmen. Your mage is incredibly vulnerable because we'll talk about this in a second, but she is vulnerable throughout this fight. Well, you want to clear the henchmen first. Hero, warrior are going to be just stacking hits on each one of these enemies. The thief is going to be utility because she's guaranteed to go first. She's basically guaranteed to go first. We'll talk about speed later too. But yeah, you're going to clear the enemies and then take out Kandar. Kandar is scary. He does a lot on his regular physical move, but also has the ability to critical you. He's got a 1 in 8 chance to get a move that has a 1 in 8 chance. So it's 1 in 64. It doesn't sound very likely. Every time you see the overhead axe swing, it becomes a 1 in 8 chance, just like that. Yep. But yeah, it's it's very real. And if somebody gets crit, they are 100% dead. There's no surviving. It does about 80 damage, even if defense doesn't matter. So it'll do about 80 damage to anybody.
Yeah, the other irritating thing about Kandar 1 is that even though you have the steel whips, which allow you to attack every monster in a group, all of Kandar's henchmen are their own groups, each one. So you can only attack one at a time. And do they cast defense in this?
Not the
or
first
I'm sorry,
one.
sap?
Yep, in the second one they cast decrease. The first one they don't have any spells.
Oh, okay. So yeah, like Tonic was saying, you just you want to use the thief, who is almost guaranteed to go first. Almost, because DQ turn order is a wonderful thing. You have her stacked with herbs, so that you have some pretty consistent healing if you need it. Otherwise, she'll be attacking.
Yep, Darko had a super clean fight. No major problems. Having the Ice Bolt spell is the faster alternative to using the upper spell, which can increase your defense. Increasing your defense is great because it'll make you tanky, it'll make your mage much less likely to die. But if you're given the Ice Bolt spell, basically the speed strat is to use that instead to do extra damage. So yeah, the status update is that Darko is going to be heading towards Kandar 2 fight. Pop is entering the tower that Kandar 1 is in, so he's probably about, I would say, like 6 minutes behind. But like we said before, anything can happen. Darko's, taking this in stride and playing it pretty well, even though he had kind of a rocky start. So
yeah, Darko has really picked up the pace actually since his rough beginning, and it's funny. It's funny to say, anything can happen even with like a 5 to 6 minute deficit, because that's just the nature of this game. If it wants to poop on you, it will.
Yeah. Speaking of getting pooped on, maybe we should introduce ourselves and talk about like how we know this game. I'll introduce Countdown because Countdown was one of the first people playing this game in the West. So he and a few other people kind of scraped together some videos and some notes and did a few runs just to get a flavor. And how was your experience of that?
Well, it was interesting because I didn't at the time know anything about reading Japanese. So learning this game was a real trip for me. It basically became like learning a cipher, like a code. Okay, this item has this goofy smiley face character at the end, so that's the prayer ring or whatever. So, but yeah, and not only that, but we didn't really have a chart. We were basically just copying the world record video because that was the only one we could find.
Yeah. Which is an incredibly optimized speedrun, the one at that time. But.
It takes a ton of risks, and we had no idea what safety strats were. So, I completed a couple of runs, but it really wasn't until my bud Clear Tonic here picked up the game and fleshed it out in a big way, and we had access to Maru-san's chart, who was at the time the record holder in this game. Still a very impressive run with I believe it was a 242 at the time in early 2014.
Yeah, that sounds right. So yeah, I played this game quite a bit in 2015. Super interesting. I spoke to like a few Japanese runners. Maru-san was actually really helpful about helping me out. I had to sit there with my hack knowledge of Japanese and Google Translate to try to talk to him, but he gave me some super valuable insights. He eventually came up with this like incredible note base that Star of Violence helped translate properly. So yeah, there's basically over time a bunch of people kind of put their heads together and made more sense of this game. So yeah, Countdown and I have ran this game before. We understand kind of what's going on. All we can say is that like we're trying to guide you through what you see here, but it's incredibly complicated. There's a lot of different variables. And also I just want to point out quickly that I just took a look on the leaderboard on the Nico Nico site. On Nico Nico, which has no US times, and there's only a handful of people, in the West who have times. Right now, it's at 193 entrants for people who have times under 4 hours. And that leaderboard may not be totally comprehensive because sometimes people don't update it on their Nico times. But yeah, there's a lot of people who played this game over the years, and they've been playing it since like 2008 onwards. That's like the earliest I can find on this leaderboards, but definitely there's activity. You can see some blog activity from before 2008 too. So it's just like an incredibly popular and historic speedrun.
Yeah, there's so much competition. I mean, anytime you go to the RTA tag on Nico, you'll find at least one person playing DQ3, if not more, any time of the day. And it's so fleshed out and so optimized. So many people have taken looks at this game. It's probably the biggest, most popular RTA in Japan, as far as I'm concerned.
Totally. Yeah, so maybe we can talk about our racers too. So just this real quick status update. Darko is about to go into Kandar 2. He did some shopping. He had a slightly dangerous walk, but it went fine. And yeah, Pop is just about finishing up Kandar 1, so he's going to be heading over there too. We'll talk about the boss fight in a second at Kandar 2. But let's talk about the racers real quick. So I think it's on the left on the stream. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah. Darko is I would say new at this point. He's been playing for probably about a year or so, but he studied the game and went extremely hard on it. I know he plays a lot, and he improved very quickly and has actually a really, really good time. I think it's like a top 35 or 40 time. And like, believe me when I say this, that's incredibly impressive.
Oh yeah.
He took the game like very, very seriously, and he's doing fantastic. But he's relatively new in the world of DQ3. And then Popson on the right, he is a Dragon Quest 1 through 3 legend. He has at multiple times held the Dragon Quest 1 world record. He has, I believe it's a top 15 time in DQ3. He's got, I think his fastest time is a 2:43. Yeah, so it's like Popson has been around forever and is incredibly, incredibly well versed in Dragon Quest. So these two racers, you kind of have some new blood versus old blood, but at the end of the day, like, they're both very capable of putting out a very fast time. So, yeah, okay.
Yeah, this is a good competition. That's a good way to put it. The new versus the old. And the Pop is incredibly experienced, and Darko has put in so much work in the last year. It's ridiculous. So this is definitely going to be one hell of a race.
Yeah. And just comparatively, Darko plays many other genres of games for speedrunning. He's been around for a long time. And I'm pretty sure Pop only plays Dragon Quest. So it's just, I don't know, it's a cool comparison. Okay, anyways. Yeah. So Darko is fighting the sub-boss here before Kandar 2. So this is probably a more random fight than the boss fight itself. It's actually going pretty well. These Kandar's henchmen, they can cast heal more on themselves, which is awful. They can cast defense on you to lower your party's defense. But that was actually pretty smooth. That fight can go very hairy. Basically, if they start lowering your defense and they start targeting the same character, even 2 hits on the same character with lower defense may result in a death. So.
And there is something that they can do to mitigate that, actually. If they sap one of your party members' defense, you can actually go into the in-battle equipment menu and re-equip any piece of equipment. And I believe that just instantly negates it, does it not?
All stat debuffs and buffs, yes.
Yeah, so that's something. I mean, you just don't want to see it at all. But yeah, if like say henchman number 1 goes first and saps your mage, and then henchmen 2, 3, and 4 all gang up on the mage, she's pretty much dead.
Yeah. And I wanted to bring this up before, but it's true in the previous fight, and it's true here. Before we talked about this 40%, 30%, 20%, 10% chance of your party members getting hit in the order that they show up in your party. That is not true for Kandar's henchmen and Kandar himself. They all have a 25% blanket chance of hitting, which means your mage is that much more vulnerable, which means that you really have to protect her HP. I will say, though, that Darko's mage having 73 HP is huge and is like a giant boon to her survivability. So Kandar 2 fight. Kandar 2 has 750 HP and is comparatively less scary given the levels you have, but can still crit you, and a crit almost guarantees somebody dies. The warrior could survive. The henchmen are the same henchmen that you just fought right before this, and they can heal more, but there's only 2 of them, so it's less likely that they cause a problem. But this fight's going fairly smoothly, and Darko's about to finish up.
It looks like Pop had just finished one of the first really interesting segments, in my opinion. It's really the first time where you get into some slightly difficult encounters, and it's really like the first time where your decision making is huge on either whether you want to fight these enemies or you want to run. Some of the enemies can surround you or put you to sleep. So you really need to weigh heavily your options in that segment. But it looks like he got through with no deaths and no real trouble there, which is good. Because that place can get a little hairy.
It really can, yeah. Some of the enemies can gang up, especially those anteaters. They have an incredibly high attack. But yeah, if you make it to the town, you're pretty much safe.
Yeah, and the other thing that they're doing when they get to the town is they're going to be buying 3 magic shields for their characters, which, in addition to raising defense, also gives. Do they get some sort of spell resistance?
They do, yeah. It's a 20% to fire and ice, which is huge. Yeah. The sage or the thief/sage is going to keep it for the rest of the game. The warrior and the eventual mage warrior are going to get dragon shields later, which is about 30%. But yeah, anything you can do to have blanket either spell or fire breath resistance is huge. So magic shields are, for how much they cost, they're incredibly valuable.
Yeah. It's like go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, similar to what Countdown was saying before, you have to manage your levels and which fights you do here. Basically, you need to have your mage get to level 8 at least so that she can learn the outside spell, which just warps you out of a dungeon after Kandar 2. So, looks like Pop is there and won't have a problem.
And the other aspect of that is that, well, you'll be casting Hiato on Kandar 2, you want to make sure that your mage has at least 8 MP when you defeat Kandar, so that she can cast outside from the dungeon so that you don't have to walk out. Just a little bit of a time save there. It saves more time than if you were to, blow that on attack spells.
Pop getting a stamina seed that I was not aware of was in the game. I
didn't know that was there either.
I was like, where is he going?
I knew about this little cache that he's going to right now, but he's going to be. These are all seeds. He's getting a strength seed and a stamina seed, and I believe the last one's a life nut.
Yep. Okay. So Darko just got his ship, which is pretty cool. He's going to be able to sail around. Technically, when you play Dragon Quest III, the world is almost completely open at this point, which is really cool, but also can be scary because you can go to areas where you wipe out very easily. Yeah. So he got the ship. Pop is about to fight the second, the string of 2 encounters here. It looks like actually Pop made up a little bit of time. Darko's walk was a little bit slower, but Darko definitely still has a solid lead. And basically what's going to happen here is that Darko is going to go around and collect a bunch of stuff. We'll try to call it out as it comes, but it's going to be about probably like 6 minutes of just collecting stuff before the next real segment of the game.
And the one thing that you probably didn't realize that Darko just did, which is actually really good, he just entered the town of Su. Getting there, you have to have pretty much perfect tile movement when getting to Su because you are exactly, I believe it's exactly one step away from turning it to complete nighttime. And when you enter a town at nighttime, you can't use any of the shops, and you have to stay at the inn, which is slow, or warp wing to that town. Basically, you just want to have good overworld movement on the ship so that you can mitigate that completely. Just another small time save, but you know something that the runners have to be conscious of.
Yeah, totally. So Darko went to that town of Su, which is like kind of way out of the way. He picked up a bolt staff, but really which is going to be very beneficial, but we're going to need to warp back there later to do some valuable shopping before the next grind segment. But yeah, basically what you're doing now is warping around and collecting a bunch of stuff to help set you up for the grind upcoming. Darko is going to be going to the pirates hideout to get the first of 6 orbs. In order to progress the game, you need to get 6 different orbs. There are 6 different colored orbs, and you need that to unlock the flying bird Lamia. And what Darko is doing here is getting a safety item called the loose socks. That's what it translates to. Loose socks. And they are just some extra cash so that he can afford some more shopping that we'll talk about in a minute. And also Darko is picking up the heavy metal ring, which is interesting because it both influences your stats, but it also changes the personality of whoever wears it to be a more agility-based personality rather than your stock vitality-based one. So throughout some parts of the run, that'll come on and off.
Oh, I didn't see. Did you get the frame saver?
Yeah, he did.
Nice.
The 4 counter.
Hell yeah. So you can actually... what I mean by the frame saver is this game has half tiles, and you have to push that rock out of the way and search the ground to find where the orb is. If you walk only a half a tile, you push the rock completely out of the way, and then you search the ground to reveal the stairs. Then you can move the other half of the tile to go down the stairs. And again, it's just a frame saver, but it's optimal.
Yeah, it is optimal, and right there, it doesn't matter too much because there's no encounters, but there's some other areas in the game where that half step could mean that you got into an encounter. We'll see it in Zoba's Castle for sure as like a very easy example, but yeah. So Pop is finishing up Canto 2, had no problems, nobody's down, and was near dying. He actually had a different party order than Darko did, which is just kind of preference to who you think's going to survive given your stats, but... yeah, so Darko just set Dharma as a warp point and collected some stuff along the way. He also set Japang as a warp point, meaning that he can just kind of warp there later when he needs to as part of the run. And now he's going to be sailing to get the Trout Vase, I think that's what it's translated to, and that will allow you to get the ultimate key. And we're going to be doing that halfway through the grind.
Yeah, a little lore update, by the way. The reason you're chasing down Kandar is when you went to Portoga, the king says, you know, I want some black pepper. I heard that the black pepper in the east is the finest. So you head over there, and it turns out that the pepper salesman and I believe they captured his girlfriend, and then he went in after them and also got captured. So when you defeat Kandar, you release him, and he's thankful and gives you some pepper for free that you get to take back to the king. And in return, that's when you get the ship. And so now Darko is in Edinburgh Castle doing this wonderful block pushing puzzle. Everybody should love block pushing puzzles to get the dry vase, as Tonic said before, which will again allow us to get the last of the keys.
Thanks for the lore update.
No problem. You gotta have the lore update. Speedrun's great, but you gotta give it some context.
Yeah. Their names are Tanya and Gupta.
I knew Gupta. I didn't know Tanya. Gupta's not a name you forget.
Yep, so Darko basically has some access to cash and collected all the items he needs to survive through the grind. What he's going to do is buy poison needles, which have a 1 in 16 chance of instantly killing all non-boss enemies. I shouldn't say all, there's some enemies that have resistance to it, but most enemies. And those are extremely cheap, they're only 10 gold. But now he's going to sell 2 of the items that he picked up in drawers from Edinburgh Castle, which are worth a lot of money. You see that 9,900 come up. And
stylish clothes or something, fancy dress. I can't remember what they're called.
Yep, stylish suit, and I think it's like fancy dress. Yeah,
party dress.
Party dress.
Yeah, because we don't like to party. We're speedrunners.
That's right. Throw it out. So yeah, right now he sold one of the pieces of equipment, got him around 11K, and he bought a whole bunch of what are called moth powders. We're going to talk about that during the grind, which is actually coming up right now. But the moth powders allow you to confuse enemies. We'll talk about confuse mechanics more in a second. But basically, you buy a whole bunch of different... I guess you stack your party with moth powders so that you have the ability to confuse enemies. And yeah, you want to talk about this wonderful segment that's coming up?
Oh yes. So we are headed into Garuna Tower. That's what it's called. And I believe it's entirely optional as a dungeon. There's nothing really in it. There's no key items and there's no boss.
That's right.
But this is the home of the notorious Metal Slime enemy. And for those of you that don't know, Metal Slimes are enemies that have incredibly high defense and speed. They only have either 3 or 4 HP. And they like to run away, but they give 1,000 and some change experience per Metal Slime. So basically going to be grinding our characters. The main object of this grind is to get the thief to level 20 so that we can change her into a sage. The Midori book, that's what it's called, right?
Satori, yeah.
Satori, that's it. So there's an item in there that is required. You can only change to a sage either with that book, which I believe is a one-of-a-kind item, or if you start the game with a goof-off character. And that's a terrible strat. Don't ever use one. I'll tell you from experience. It's bad. They don't listen to you. They do bad damage. It's just awful. So yeah, we'll be grinding to get the thief to level 20, and then also we're going to be while we're doing that, we're getting levels on the mage. And when the mage hits level 21, as we had mentioned before, and learns the buy kill spell, we'll be changing her into a warrior to have some more tankiness as well as utility. Yeah, and so basically this grind is probably one of the tougher aspects of the run. There's tons of different encounter formations, and not only do you need to know what to do for each formation, you need to know which enemies who it is that's optimal to confuse if you get into a Metal Slime encounter. If you don't get into a Metal Slime encounter, even more importantly, the runner needs to know how to end the encounter quickly. It's one thing to know, who do I confuse, and then who do I attack, etc., etc. But you also need to know what to do for encounters that just don't include Metal Slimes. Another aspect of the Metal Slime grinding is that they will be swapping. If they get an encounter that doesn't have Metal Slimes, they'll be putting the steel sword or the steel whip back onto the thief so that you have some more attack power and can end the fights faster.
Yeah. The alternative is the poison needle, so it's one or the other. Right.
And another caveat that of the poison needle that I don't think Tonic mentioned is that it only does 1 damage, no matter the stats of the user. Is that correct?
That's right. Oh, baby. Another special on Pop Stream. The
This is
old
the hottest
7.
encounter.
It's 7 times Marine Slime, which is like one of the slowest fights to get into a fight and just fail to run away from, because they just sit there and they cast Increase, and then you watch the animation for all 7 of them, and they can do it multiple times. It's it's a mess.
It's pretty rough, dude. Yeah, that is the worst kind of encounter to get on the or to get a 4th try run from. Ooh, looks like Darko is in a precarious situation.
Oh, this is sketch.
Oh,
And the warrior goes down.
you know, that's not the worst thing in the world, but is he going to? Do you think he'll warp out?
I don't think he will.
So normally the strategy for the Metal Slime grind here is that you get the warrior to level 14, 13 or 14, depending on how safe you want to be. And then you kill him off so that your other party members get more experience, because that's really as high a level as you need him to be before the next boss fight. And you want to stack experience on your other party members for the class changes and such. But the early part of the grind is pretty volatile. Some of the enemies in this area are pretty strong for the levels that you enter the grind at. So if you don't get a bunch of metal slimes right off the bat, something like that could happen, or something even more disastrous, like your hero or your mage going down. And in which case you'd have to warp out to the Dharma Shrine and heal up, and then walk back, which you never ever want to do, ideally.
Yeah, totally. So Darko made a mistake in that fight. So the Sky Dragons have the ability, they have 100% chance of being expelled, which means that they're just removed from the battlefield. But with his thief, he attacked the Sky Dragon, and I presume that he meant to attack the Moss. So that fight went one more turn. It was really scary, and somebody almost also died. But yeah, I mean, this is just as Countdown said. When you first enter here, you're still very low leveled. Until you grind for a while, you definitely are at risk of dying. And you really got to pick your battles. You got to, and this kind of goes into the whole time spectrum of speedrunning this game. You have to assess after every battle, is it worth it for me to heal my party? Should I open my menu and start healing people, or do I just trudge on through? If you look at Darko's stream right now, he definitely needs to heal his party, because if he went into the next fight, he would die. But, if you're around 75 to 85% of your max health, technically, yeah, you could die, but most likely you're just going to suck it up and get through the next fight. So Every fight has those considerations coming out of it. You just got to be thinking what's best for me in terms of the goals that I want to get out of this grind.
Soul.
Oh, 4 times metal. Beautiful fight.
It's exactly what you want to see. There are a couple of encounters where it's just metal slimes. The best one is 7, which I believe 7 or 8, which is the maximum.
7, yep.
And that is absolutely the most ideal encounter. You can get a lot of them just off of that one encounter. Sometimes you'll get 2, 2, 1, 2 of a Garuda, 2 of a Stingwing, and then 1 metal slime, and that fight can go just as long as a fight with 6 or 7 metal slimes, but you'll only maybe get the 1 metal slime's worth of experience. So generally encounters that are like this, that have more metal slimes than anything else, are the most favorable ones. But there is an added benefit to having other non-metal slime enemies, which is that if you confuse them and they attack the metal slimes, it actually ignores the metal slime's defense, I believe. Or there's some mechanic where they do more than 1 damage, which is the maximum amount of damage you can do without a crit, pretty much at this point, to a metal slime.
Yeah. Basically, the formula is just different. Enemies have a different attack formula than your characters, and for whatever reason, the inputs of the formula mean that enemies' attacks will do a range between, it depends on the enemy, but between 0 to 7. Garudas can do up to 5. The monkeys outside can do up to 7.
Yeah, so
one shot. Yeah.
Having them attack each other just not only it basically just increases your chances that you're going to kill one or more of the metal slimes, because you have not only all of your party members attacking, but you also have some of the enemies attacking the metal slimes as well.
Yes, and a confused metal slime that is alone will have the chance of running away from battle. However, if there's a confused metal slime on the field and there's another group of enemies, that metal slime will always try to attack the other group in its party rather than try to run away. So basically, like look at Darko's stream right now. You've got 2 metal slimes on the left, Garuda's on the right. If he were to throw a confused powder on one of the left metal slimes, which is a 70% chance of landing, if it lands, that metal slime will not run away until the 2 Garudas leave the field. So these players are doing a lot to manage whether or not they say, okay, I have a goal of getting at least one metal slime out of this fight. I'm going to throw it on the metal slime to see whether or not I can guarantee that, which, like I said, is 70% chance on throwing the powder. That's only for metal slimes. Garudas and the moths here have a 100% chance of being confused, and the Mad Peckers, I think it's like 70%. I'm actually not too sure. They're not very common in here. The Sky Dragons are 0.
I just want to direct your all's attention to Pop's stream. He got a 3x ape, 3x metal slime encounter outside, which you do have a chance to encounter them outside of the tower, and he killed all 3 of the metal slimes. So he just got big time experience from that. That is a great way to enter the grind. He basically that kind of precarious window of when you can maybe get killed by an unfortunate encounter or a mistake. He's basically just foregone that whole window by getting another level or 2 on most of his characters.
This is a big consideration too, because Pop's warrior is in way better shape than Darko's warrior, who died before getting there was 1 medal that the warrior got. That's pretty much it. And Pop's warrior had a bunch of extra EXP before and is now level 13. And now if Pop's warrior dies, it's beneficial because the other characters, I don't think we talked about this, but the other characters will get comparatively more EXP with 3 characters alive instead of 4, which is why you kill off a party member purposely. However, to counter that, Darko, his warrior died early, which means that the warrior, even though it's supposed to die, is still short some EXP. So Pop, getting out of this grind, you have a huge variance in your stats between these 2 players, and the survivability on Pop's warrior is going to be way greater.
Yeah, okay.
Medals. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, check out, that's a sick encounter. Pop is getting some incredibly favorable luck. He's definitely making up some huge time here. What I was going to say is, first of all, the experience that you get is shared amongst all living party members, which is why, as Tonic was saying, that you kill off the warrior after a certain point. I'm curious to see what Darko is going to do if he comes back. You come back for a second round. You actually leave once you get the mage to level 20 so that you can turn her into a sage as soon as possible. And then you go and you run a few errands. You get the final key, and then you come back to grind for the mage. I wonder if he isn't going to take the time to revive the warrior and get a few extra levels then, or if he's just going to play it out with the low-level warrior. I'm interested to see, because that's, again, like, it doesn't really, you don't really think about it, but, like, you have to go out of your way to revive the warrior, then you have to have an extra party member alive for the second part of the grind, and then you have to go out of your way to kill him off, etc., etc. So it's just it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving in terms of time loss. And
I totally agree.
There's many layers to some sort of, to that kind of decision making. Do you just keep going and hope that it works itself out, or do you eat the time loss for the consistency factor?
Yeah, it's a really tough call, and like basically racing this game and going out for full RTs of this game are pretty much way different. And it very well may be that Darko has never had this happen to him before. It's a pretty rare situation to have your warrior die that easily or that early on in the grind. If you were doing a standard RTA, most likely you would be like, this is too much of a time loss and probably would reset over it. But in a race setting, I mean, you basically just have to keep going. So we're gonna see what he does. I'm equally interested as Countdown is, but we'll see.
Indeed, and with that, like Pop he's only like 2 levels behind Darko at this point, and like we said, he's got that level on those levels on the Warrior, and I believe he is now 14, so they will be killing him off. Oh, he's 15. Oh dear. So Pop is actually in really good shape. But I believe he's going to let his Warrior die now. He's purposely not healing him, and if you really, really need to, you can actually attack your own party members. But that's kind of a last resort. You just want the enemies to do it for you. And you just kind of neglect healing the Warrior once you get to the certain level that you want him to be at.
Yeah. Usually what happens is like you'll wait until you get into a fight with a whole bunch of metals, and then you try to use your Warrior to throw a powder, and then once a few are confused, then the Warrior should go down. But it looks like Pop is banking on. Yeah, the Warrior just attacked himself. That's what he did. So the Warrior attacked himself, killed himself, and now the EXP is going to go to the others.
Yep. And that was a good time to do it too, because it was an encounter. Did he get either of those medals?
I think
Okay.
both of them.
Okay, so that's, much more experience being doled out to the rest of his party members who need it more at this time. And 15 is actually, that's pretty safe for going into boss troll. And really at the end of the game, because your HP values and your defense and your levels even can make all of the difference going into the final dungeon, especially the last boss. So it's kind of a compounding effect.
Totally. I think Pop is getting better luck than Darko, but I will say, just watching these two, Pop seems to be executing these battles a little bit cleaner. I think Darko is kind of realizing the situation he's in. So we were just talking about, we don't know what Darko is going to do with his Warrior. I don't think Darko necessarily knows what he's going to do. I mean, maybe by now he's made a decision, but think about it this way. You're in a race. You don't know what you're going to do. You're trying to come up with the answers. Meanwhile, trying to execute all of the battles that are in your way as you're just trying to get through the speed run. It's a lot to manage, and it's a lot to handle. So trying to make all those decisions as to how you're going to tackle the situation on top of executing, it can definitely be overwhelming. Meanwhile, Pop on the other hand is having a relatively normal experience. I mean, they're tied on levels right now.
Are they really? Oh
Pop
my!
Was 7 minutes behind entering this tower, and that's just the nature of the beast, right? Pop is just kind of taking in stride, executing well, managing his health really well, having really no problems, whereas Darko seems to be fumbling a little bit. And it's not like he's doing poorly or whatever. He's just been given more stressful situation, basically.
Yeah. The mental game here is kind of compounded by the fact that this is a race environment and a marathon run. So I feel for Darko. I really hope that I hope it's not too much, that he can focus on the grind here. It looks like he's going to get at least 1 medal out of this. Maybe, if not 2, because he's got a confused moth, and he's got 1 more medal that's also confused. So
meanwhile, Pop's got 7 medals on the screen.
Oh my!
But yeah, he's been given the gift of the medal.
Metaru! So many medals.
So, Countdown, what do you think about this copy pasta going on?
Well, when I see the metal slime, my hand automatically go to the Control V so I can spam it in chat.
Well, bunch of medal, 5 medals. It's a great fight too for Darko.
Yeah. This will give him a chance to get some time back. The other thing I guess we didn't really mention about medals is that they're immune to magic. At least fire spells. I think they're immune to all magic though.
That's correct. You know what they're not weak to though is breath attack, and that's actually one of the major it's too bad basically that the Sky Dragons cannot be confused, because if the Sky Dragons could breathe on the metals, they would wipe them out.
Yeah. So there's one in a particular formation where it's one Sky Dragon and 6 or 7 metals, and in that situation, confusing the Sky Dragon would pretty much guarantee any of the medals that didn't run away on the first turn, which would be incredibly silly, and would expedite this greatly. But sadly, well, we're just down to pure decision making.
Yeah. Okay, why don't we revisit 7-time medal? I'd love to see. Let's revisit the goals of this. So 3 characters are alive. The hero is just going to stay alive the entire time for this part of the grind. Next part, we're going to kill off the hero because he only needs to get to around level 18 so that he can become kind of tanky for the next few fights, but trying to learn a pivotal move called Stop Spell, which it's mute in Final Fantasy. It just means that the enemies can't use spells. So that's the hero. The warrior is the warrior's already dead, basically, for both these characters, both the players. The thief is the one that we need to get to level 20 as part of the first part of the grind, because she is going to change into a sage. And the reason that, you have to be level 20 in order to change class, but along the way, the thief got the ability called Tiptoe, or Shinobi Feet, as we call it, as it translates from Japanese, which drastically reduces the encounter rate anywhere for free. So it's an incredibly good, it's a 60% deduction, or I guess reduction of the encounter rate, which is incredible. So we're going to change the thief into a sage. We're going to keep the hero alive for a little bit. And then finally, the mage, we're going to try to get to level 21 plus to get a skill called Buy Kill. And we're going to come back to the second part of the grind after we change the thief into a sage once she hits level 20. So as soon as we hit the thief level 20, we're out of here, change her to a sage, and then we'll come back and grind for the extra levels to get the mage to level 21. There's a lot of medals in this last section. I think this is a race. It's not like it wasn't a race before, but like it's a race now. These guys are tight.
Yes. And I mean, it took a little while. Darko got some pretty bad luck there for several encounters in a row, but it's given Pop a chance to catch up, and this is still anybody's game at this point, man. This is just the nature of Dragon Quest III right here. You're seeing it live. And there's still so much more to go that we could see 5 more lead changes before the run's over.
Yeah, totally. Count has said this before, and that this is one of the hardest stretches in the game to play as a speedrunner, and I 100% agree. I think this segment is so much the devil's in the details of how you play it and how you control what's going on with your levels and your HP management, whether or not you fight every battle. You can bleed so much time in this segment if you don't know what you're doing. That being said, Pop is out, now in the lead, level 20 thief, got the Book of Satori so he can change the thief into a sage, and he's in the lead. That was an incredibly good segment for him. Caught up at least 7 minutes. He's just killing it now. And Darko is basically there, I'm sure, over the next medal fight. Maybe now, let's see. No. So, this is interesting. So, Darko, seeing that his thief is very close to level 20, but not level 20 yet, opts to leave the dungeon before level 20 hits, and is just going to fight stuff along the way. So watch.
And this is also, this is pretty much the strat that you're going to be doing, or that these racers are going to be doing for the mage grind. They're going to be keeping an eye on the total experience. Mage hits level 21 at 45,676 total experience. So they're going to be keeping an eye on that. The game keeps track of it in the stats screen. So they just need to open the stats screen real quick to take a look, and then they will bail out. And if they are within 100 to 300 experience, somewhere around that area away from leveling up, then they're going to save and reset if they don't get the buy kill spell on level up. So just optimization, nice planning on Darko's part. I had no idea there was a life nut there. I genuinely thought he was going to revive somebody, and I was curious why.
No.
That's insane. Look at how close this is. This is nuts.
Yeah. So it's actually kind of interesting. So usually you do this part after this thief is turned into a sage, but Darko is trying to still get his thief to level 20, therefore is doing this segment first. In the event that he gets into an encounter, it's going to go towards the thief getting towards level 20. It's like a very small race-specific optimization. It's pretty cool to see. But yeah, so Pop on the right got Ortega's helmet, which is a optional. It takes a little under a minute, I believe, out of your way to get it, but it's a free 5k gold. Meanwhile, I'm not exactly sure the strats that Darko went with, but he entered Garuna Tower with just 5,000 gold on hand, so he must have bought a little bit less.
Poison moth powders.
Yeah, moth powders. And this is kind of like a very typical Darko thing that he just kind of comes up with his own strats. I don't see Japanese runners doing this. We'll see whether or not it works out for him. If he wiped out, it would have been terrible for him. But yeah, my guess is that he probably bought less moth powders, which is maybe why he had a little bit of trouble in the grind comparatively. But yeah.
When you're not... Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, when you're low on moth powders, that just means that every decision that you make involving moth powders, how many you use, what enemy you use it on in the battle, just becomes that much, it's just weighted that much more heavily because you don't have more moth powders to fall back on. I mean, you can always go back to Sue and buy more, but again, that's a pretty decent time loss. So you don't want to do that if you don't have to.
Yeah. So what Darko's doing here is he went to Edinburgh to fight monsters that give him the highest yielded EXP that are not metal slimes. It's my opinion that he didn't choose to do this correctly because he doesn't have ice spells to take out most of the enemies here, and he should have went somewhere else. But he eventually trudged his way through. That took a few too many battles, but yeah, he is now level 20 with the thief. He's going to change the thief into the sage. Meanwhile, Pop is going back into the tower. And just to make it clear, the reason that this segment is split up into two grinds is that when the thief turns into a sage, she is going to go back to level 1. And we need to get her to level 14 so that she learns the spell Heal more, which is going to be very helpful for bosses coming up soon. But then also, we still need to get that EXP on the mage so that she can get to level 21 to start learning rolling chances to get by kill.
Oh yeah. I mean, the buy kill grind could, we could see another lead change here. Honestly, even if Pop gets another godlike grind, he could end up reloading 8 or 10 times if he just gets really unlucky with the 50% spell learning roll, and Darko could easily catch up. So, just want to reiterate, it's still anybody's race.
Can I read some donations quick?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we got 2 donations here. $10 from Cosmoing, and the comment is, Personal Best is a 1982 film centered on a group of women trying to qualify for the American track and field team bound for the 1980 Olympic Games Kill the Animals. Thank you for that donation.
All right, Golden, you're going to have to help me out, my dude. So
Yes.
I remember the copy pasta. I don't remember the context in which I used it.
I can't remember what marathon it was. I think it was an earlier JRTA, but you donated with this comment. And so, you took, the first line of the Personal Best Wikipedia page. and then you wanted to put the incentive towards Kill the Animals, but you didn't put a space, so it came out as Olympic Games Kill the Animals.
Oh, nice.
That's pretty good. We also have $5 from Boss Crab. And the comment is, when I see metal slime, my hand automatically go to the dick. I stroke the dick and feel I have sex with the DQ3. All becoming world record. Mario Party 3.
DP in the background.
He enjoyed that comment. Yes.
Yeah, I know. We can hear him.
So we do have 2 entrants now for the prize anyway. And again, we're giving away 3 copies of this game if you donate at least $5 or more during the run. So still have a pretty good chance.
Your chances of winning are still 100% at the moment.
100%. All right, I'll give the commentary back to you guys.
Thank you, Golden. Angie's Pizza. So yeah, I actually I did not get a good look at Pop's grind, but judging by the fact that his Sage is already level 11 and the Mage is now 19, I'd say he's making pretty good headway into the second grind.
Oh, and 5 medals. Let's see.
Oh my goodness.
So when we were talking before about killing off the warrior, they're going to do that to the hero now because they only really need EXP on the Sage and the Mage. So expect Pop. Yep. So Pop's hero attacked himself and taking a death. You're going to try to get these medals to give EXP to these 2. So again, just to say that the Sage, we want level 14 to get heal more. The Mage, we need to get to level 21. And Countdown said this earlier, just to reiterate, 50% chance on hitting level 21 of getting a skill called By Kill, which is a magic spell that doubles an attack power throughout the rest of a battle. It is pretty much in every Dragon Quest game, like, the spell to have. It's incredibly useful, and it's so useful in a speedrun. So all of this effort to get your mage to level 21 is pretty much centered around that spell.
Yeah, it's invaluable, and basically the only reason that we can, well, one of the only reasons that we can finish the game at the levels that that these guys will be doing, and it makes bosses like Boss Troll and Baramos possible. Yeah, so I think he wants to get maybe one more, or maybe he's just letting the hero die now. If he gets if Darko gets another Metal Slime encounter, he will have the the hero attack himself, I'm sure, because he wants to split the Metal Slime experience only between the Mage and the Sage at this point. The hero has plenty of experience. Level 18 is plenty for the rest of the game to just go naturally. So we'll see how it goes. Really pulling for Darko to get some 7 Metal Slime encounters, because looks like he's just been having a real rough time. But like I said earlier, and this was, I think Tonic and I were talking about this at some point in the last week, that how you handle non-Metal Slime encounters is almost as important, if not more important, than how you handle Metal Slime encounters, because as Tonic was saying, you can very easily bleed time without you realizing it. Whether you want to expel or you want to use a Firebane or some other multi-target magic, delegating your whip attackers, etc., etc. So it's a really really cerebral grind, no matter what, medals or not.
Totally. So Pop is coming up. He's very close. My guess is that he's going to do what Countdown said earlier, is that he's going to get his mage very close to 45676 EXP, 45,676, which is level 21. But he's going to get very close to right under that and try to save the game. It's kind of a tough situation because you do want to get close to that safe level, but if presented with 7 medals, my guess is that he's just going to go for it and hope that he doesn't level up twice, and he'll just if he doesn't get to level 21, then maybe he'll do that strat to be right under 22 and then save before that.
Yeah, if he's close and he runs into 7 medals, that even if he doesn't happen to learn it at 21, if he gets enough medals, it'll put him close enough to level 22. And I actually don't know the experience value for level 22 off the top of my head, but I'm sure that these runners do.
Yeah,
they're prepared. 54. Okay. So yeah, that's about a 9,000 experience level or so. So that's about, with 2 characters alive, what is that? 6 metal slimes, 5, something like that. So yeah,
It's 5. Yeah.
if you get a bunch, and it puts you close to the tipping point, you're probably going to gamble.
Yeah. Part of it's too, like, the impulse is there. You see 7 metals on the field, you're like, I'm going for it, man. Just do it.
Absolutely, man.
And plus, it's not to undermine the fact that we do need the Sage to get to level 14 as well. And that's why this is, we talk about this, and it's kind of a buzzword in speedrunning, but like, this route is optimized, and it's very, very optimized. And under optimal conditions, your Sage and your Mage will level up on the same battle and get the same skills that they need, which are heal more on the Sage and buy kill on the Mage.
Yeah, it looks like he learned Snowstorm at level 20 as well. Darko did, so that's really good. He's not killing off his warrior though. I mean his hero. I'm sorry. But again, having Hyaruko is a good utility for this grind. I believe that's another 50% roll spell as well.
It is. Yep.
Darko getting a really favorable encounter here. He gets 3 medals and then 2 of each of the other of Garudas and Stingwings. Again, the important factor here is to confuse at least one of the metal slimes and then one of the non-metal slime enemies that attack the metal slimes.
Pop. I think Pop's got enough. Let's see. Oh, okay.
Is he gambling?
He's not gambling. He's playing smart.
Oh,
playing
okay.
Cool.
Yep. I see that. Okay, he's out. Pop is out, and he's going to save to reset.
Let's see what Darko does, though, because he might actually be close.
Looks like he's going to get all 3 of these medals as well, which is really nice. And I actually don't... He only confused one of the moths. I don't know that... It looks like he killed off the Garudas pretty quickly. So yeah, that's going to put him really close.
Oh, he is like 70 EXP away. Wow.
Wow. This race is all tied up with an asterisk because Darko's warrior is still like level 10 or 11, I believe.
This is super close.
65.
65.
Oh, 75. Okay.
It's still like that's nothing. Like he could have easily tipped over that. But I mean, he did the math too, hopefully. All right, here we go. So yeah, Countdown said this earlier. Basically, what they're going to do is they save the game. They're going to grind out fights, just get enough EXP to level up. 50-50 shot. If it doesn't work, they reset, try again. Here we go. Darko gets the spell. Done. Pop, taking a reset. So Darko is now in the lead.
And this is good. This will give Darko a little bit of a buffer to figure out what he's going to do about that warrior being low level. Either he'll lose time because of the lower attack power against the next boss, or if he chooses to fight some fights. I don't think he'll do that, though. I think the time for grinding is long past, and he's just going to truck on and hope that the warrior just kind of catches up as he fights more enemies and bosses. I'm also kind of curious to see what effect that will have in the Baramos fight, given that your warrior or survivability and damage are both huge factors in that fight.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I spent a fair amount of time thinking about this too, back when I played this. That after the grind, you really don't fight anything with the rest of your characters besides bosses for a while. So the warrior being only like a level 11 or 12 means it's only going to get EXP from Boss Troll and Orochi, and really Orochi 2 namely is like the only one that gives significant experience. The others, I mean, Boss Troll gives 625 EXP to all characters, which is basically half a metal slime, which is nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, we got some more donations here. We got $5 from Lavitz951, and the comment is, I'm not even going to make an attempt at it. I'll let him just post it in chat, because it's the personal best copy pasta, and I think he translated it.
Yeah, it looks that way.
But there is a pop champ there in the message.
Nice.
And also put his money towards Dragon Quest for best anime. And Tetrahydron donated $5, and the comment is CT Neat.
Team
Well
Meat.
said.
Yes.
CT
And-
meat.
Speaking of PopChamp, Pop leveled to 21, got both Bykill and Hieruko Snowstorm, which you really it sucks to have to swap off if you don't to class change without it, but unfortunately it's necessary. You don't really want to have to grind another level just for that, just because it's a useful utility spell in some battles.
Cool. Okay. Sorry, Golden. Anything else? He's gone. He's gone. He's max comfy. Chilling.
He's posting in chat.
Cool. So, all right. Yeah. So status update. What's going on here? So the grind is done. We have pretty much all the levels we need for the next few bosses coming up to Baramos, basically. And what we're going to be doing now is going around the world and collecting the rest of the orbs. There's a few things that we need to do along the way. There's a few key items, but the goal is to get the other 5 orbs that we haven't got before. The first one is in the first one they're going to collect now is in Gaia's Navel, which is where they both are right now. You can only bring 1 character with you, so your Sage is like by far the tankiest character that you're going to have for quite a while. We can talk about this briefly now, and it'll come up routinely. But your character's defense... So in this game, you don't have a defense stat. Your character's defense is your character's agility, which kind of sounds like an odd thing, but the way they balanced it is that, like, characters that are slow have high HP pools, like the Warrior, and even though they're slow, they can throw on heavy armor to make up for their defense stat. But characters that are lightweight but fast, their innate defense is just their agility. So that being said, the Sage is actually a very versatile class because in this run, your Thief, who has tons of agility, has tons of innate defense, but can't equip the greatest stuff, will turn into a Sage, who has actually some pretty decent equips, even though you think it's like a mage type class. The Sage actually gets some really good equips. And then the Sage has half of the tons of agility that the Thief had before because of the class change, and then has the ability to put on pretty decent armor, and its HP is pretty good too. So all around, the Sage is just like a very tanky class, and also has all of these different spells from both the mage and the cleric lines. So yeah, the Sage is just like an incredible class in this game. So yeah, they go to the basement of the Gaia's Navel. They get the blue orb. They also pick up Terra armor, which is like Gaia armor, Earth armor. Very, very valuable. I'm gonna sell it later. And they're gonna kind of progress through. There's a few bosses coming up that they're generally already prepared for, but they're gonna pick up some stuff along the way. And you can see how much money that Darko is holding on to. It's kind of crazy and scary, but
Yeah, that means he just has more to lose if he dies. Little lore update. The reason that they're collecting these orbs, they've got 6 of them to collect, and you cannot reach the next kind of choke point in the game. It's kind of you can go after the orbs in whatever order you want, casually, to a point, but you need all 6 before you can go and attempt to fight Baramos. You use all 6 to summon the legendary bird Ramia, and so for now you're just going to see them after they've done the grind. They're just going to be finishing up some errands, which are getting all of the other orbs, so that they can continue the story.
so they're going to this town to get the green orb, but they also pick up the Lamp of Darkness. Now, we'll talk about this briefly, but the way encounters work in this game. Okay, so take the scenario. Just bear with me through this example. So say you warp to the world map. You're going to roll a value between like 20 to 50, right? And every step that you take is going to decrease that counter by 1. And when you get to 0, you're going to get into a fight. So every time you get into a battle or every time you warp to a new area, that value gets reset. It could be 20 steps to the next battle. It could be 50. Then you get into a fight, and then that happens again. So the reason that the Lamp of Darkness is so valuable is that you can walk on the world map and then use the Lamp of Darkness, and then that counter will be reset. So say you roll a counter that's like 30 and you take 20 steps and then use the Lamp of Darkness, you can re-roll and get somewhere between 20 and 50 again and then keep walking. So it's a valuable tool to be able to dodge encounters, basically. And they're going to be manipulating the day-night cycle to reduce the amount of encounters that they get. Yeah, so here, Darko just used it right now. Lamp of Darkness, he turned it into nighttime even though it was dusk. He didn't get an encounter along the way up to that point, and then was able to basically mitigate the chances of getting into an encounter and didn't get one in that entire stretch. So that's a textbook example of using it. Okay, Salmonosa. So I was saying before that we had to collect all these different orbs. The hardest, the quote-unquote longest orb to get is the silver orb, in which you need to do a whole bunch of trading. You need to go through an extra, like you have to go through 2 dungeons, and you have to fight boss troll, and then reach the end of a world map area to get the silver orb. It's by far the longest stretch to get, and that's what we're doing right now. We're getting the raw mirror, which is going to be used to transform the king, who is actually a boss troll. It's just a story item we need to get.
I was actually going to ask why boss troll was required. I couldn't really think of it. So you can't get the silver orb without killing the boss troll?
Yeah, so the boss troll will give you the change rod. These guys are going to be using the change rod to turn into an elf, or I guess like a woodsman, so that they can talk to the elf to buy sleep staffs. But that change rod is part of a trading sequence that allows you to get into the Necrogon to be able to access the silver orb.
Right. You get the memory, or the sailor's bone from the sequence goes like this. You trade the change rod for the sailor bone, I believe it's called, which allows you to see this ghost ship that some NPCs tell you that they've seen around Romali, which was the 3rd town that our players were at. And so they'll be going onto the ghost ship. There's another treasure there, which is the Memories of Love. And they will go and do a little cutscene there and find the
Gaia sword.
The Gaia sword, that's it. I knew it was a sword. And then they drop it into the volcano, which will open a path to the Necrogon and the Silver Orb. So it's kind of a convoluted trading sequence, but it is required. And yeah, if you don't have a Memories of Love split, what are you doing? Let's see, are they getting the life nut? Darko's getting the life nut. There are life nuts are consumable items like they're seeds, and they can increase the max HP of one of your party members by up to 5, or is it 4 to 6 in this game?
It's 3 to 5.
3 to 5. Okay. So we're basically going to be pooling tons of life seeds for the end of the game. And then taking a look at each of your party members' max HP, and then distributing them accordingly, because you want each of your characters to be at a certain range of max HP for the final boss. So we won't be using any of them until basically the final dungeon, right before Zoma.
Let's divert attention to Darko, who is fighting Boss Troll. So actually his warrior's HP, even though he's under leveled, 150 HP is quite a bit. So warrior's actually, it's level 13 too. So I think the warrior situation is okay. That being said, Boss Troll, the strat on this guy is pretty interesting. So Boss Troll has the ability to decrease your defense and also to crit you. So what you do is you stop spell him, and then you increase your party's defense by 6 levels across the board by casting Increase, and then you cast Buy Kill on the boss, which sounds like a terrible idea because it's a physical boss. But what that does is that it negates the chance of the enemy being able to critical you, because it changes its AI so that it can no longer have the chance to roll crits at all. So it's kind of a cool strat. You're like, why would I cast Buy Kill on the boss? But it actually makes this fight way, way safer because your defense is so high you can survive the non-crit hits.
Now, is that the case for your own party members as well? Can buy killed party members get criticals?
Yeah. Okay. So the exception to that is I'm sorry. Generally, the answer is no, but the exception is that the later on the genie axe, which is what you get in Baramos' castle, you put on the warrior for the late game, still has a 1 in 8 chance of criticaling and a 1 in 8 chance of missing.
Because that's its innate ability,
Yeah,
more or less. And yeah,
Anyway,
so they're doing this fight with the mage warrior at level 1, and even though it's level 1, it has kind of a low amount of HP. But again, as Tonic said, with all the casts of increase and just having him defend, there's a pretty low chance of him dying, although it is possible. Her, yes. So yep, looks like Darko got out okay. Everybody's alive. He's getting the change rod and he's out of here.
Yeah, that was a really clean fight. Looks like it's going pretty well for Pop 2. You have a 30% chance of landing Sap, which decreases the defense on Ball Stroll. So looks like Pop's having trouble getting it, but Darko was able to get it pretty early. And yeah, I mean, Ball Stroll is still scary at the beginning. All right, I want to hear from chat. How many attempts of the change rod we're going to do? It's a 1 in 7 roll every chance. I'm going with 6. We're at 3 already. 4. I'm sorry, 2 out of 7 chance. Excuse me.
There we go. That was 5 for Darko? 4 for Darko? Okay, there we go. Seems you're a little bit ahead of me. So yeah, it looks like Pop is getting pretty bad luck when it comes to the sap. Oh no, he got it. Okay, I thought he had given up and was just attacking. But that was just the snowstorm spell that only did about 47 damage.
Yeah, it makes sense for your mage warrior to do it if she's got excess MP.
Right.
Okay, so what's happening here is that use the change rod that you get straight after Ball Stroll, and you only have a limited window to use it. This chop is, so when I'm saying limited window is like once you trade that item, you can never come back here. So the reason that Darko held on to all that money is that it's basically he's doing a very safe race strat. And he needs, during the run, you need to come here to get 2 sleep staves, and then he's buying 5 rings, which is insane because usually during a regular RTA, you only buy 2 rings. And we'll talk about rings in a second. But yeah, you come here to buy both sleep staves and prayer rings. And the more money you have, the more rings that you can get. So Darko is playing it very, very safe with his money. He opted to get less moth powders before and bought extra rings. And yeah, so Pop not having any problems with finishing out Ball Stroll and is really not that far behind. And Pop showing his he's just whipping out the seeds, man. Like I didn't know about this strength seed either, but he goes to no annuals, picks up a safety strength seed, and he's gonna go. So how many times for this for Pop? I'm gonna go with 7 for this one.
I'm gonna say 2 because Pop's luck has been phenomenal in this mid to late game.
I know I'm ahead of you, but that's the double. 2 quick ones.
2 quick ones. There we go. Yep, easy every time. Yeah, normally you never enter no annuals. You have no reason to go there. But I guess there is a backup seed that Pop felt he needed. And he's not just getting it just to get it, as a safe bet. Like I'm fairly certain that Pop went and got that because he was like, oh, either my warrior or my mage warrior, somebody's strength is low, and I need this little bit to catch me up.
Yeah, excess seeds are always really, really valuable. Okay, so here's the situation. Darko saved up more money, has 5 prayer rings. Pop, doing kind of the regular race strat, has 3 prayer rings. We'll talk about prayer rings in a minute, because we can talk about them when we start using them. But yeah, that will definitely have a consideration later. What's happening now is that they took that change rod, they went to the secret shop, bought some stuff. Now that they're going to trade it, as part of the trading sequence, they can never go back there again. Even if they get more money later in the game, they can never go back and use that shop. So, with that being said, they're going around, they're doing a bunch of trading. They're going to be making their way through what's called the Necrogon, which is a pretty scary area to get the silver orb. And again, just keep in the back of your head as you watch this that we're just going through this game to collect all the orbs so that we can unlock Lamia. And we have the red orb, we've got the green orb, we've got the blue orb. We're about to get the silver orb. And then after this, we're going to get the purple and the yellow orbs. There's another boss that guards the purple orb, and then the yellow orb is the old merchant side quest, but we'll talk about that. Well, it's not really a side quest. It's just a one-off non-battle situation.
Yeah.
This is close.
It is close. I can't believe it this late in the run, and both of these runners have had their shares of ups and downs. So this is wild that they're this close. And as Tonic said, I mean, the name kind of says it all. The Necrogon is badass. There's a lot of enemies that are dangerous. They can. Some of the enemies in there can attack you twice per turn. And just some of the enemies are pretty dangerous.
Yeah, you can get crit, you can get a really nasty fight where even if you stick around, or even if you try to run, you can get hit by blazemores, you can get hit by snowstorms, your whole party gets hit. It can just be really nasty. But generally, throughout the Necrogon, you have to pick your battles very, very closely. Now, I do want to highlight the fact that we just bought 2 sleep staves. So we talked about this at the very beginning of the run, how devastating the sleep status effect is. But now, 2 characters will have sleep staves throughout the rest of the run, meaning that at any point in any battle, you can just whip out using the item sleep staff to cast the free cast of sleep. And it's like incredibly valuable. They're going to be using it through the rest of the run, all the way up until like the very final boss rush, where a lot of enemies in this game are susceptible to sleep. And it's a free cast of it, and it can do wonders to both protect you and to speed up battles because enemies aren't taking actions, and you don't have to heal, and you can instead focus on like attacking them once they're asleep, rather than having to like try to heal in battle or something.
Yeah, and that's something. I mean, this is a run where where the amount to which you are healing is incredibly variable. And again, as we mentioned in the Metal Slime grind, it's just, another key point of your decision-making process is, do I need to heal? Can I get away with not healing? What will happen if I do? What time loss could I incur by not healing? So, especially in a place like the Necrogon, which is so dangerous, you want to take that into account, especially if you're going for a really fast time. You can't just like go into an encounter, take a little bit of damage, and then say, okay, I'm going to use the full heal command, every time, because then you're just going to lose a bunch of time.
Also, and a lot of MP too, yeah.
Yeah. Also, lol, they're grilled just twerking on Twitch. WTF. Ella giggle.
Oh, damn. Darko is getting Bashurura. Luckily, it didn't work. Oh, that was too bad. He must have had a heart attack. So, in the game, there's a spell called Disperse. It's its translation. It's called Bashurura. It sends one of your party members back to your hometown. You have to warp back and retrieve them from what's effectively a friend bank. So, that was pretty scary. Luckily, he gets through.
Yeah, having to warp out from here. Like, you can't warp to the Necrogon. It's like a minute-long sailing trip, even longer with encounters. So losing a party member here, you either have to kind of gamble and continue on with 3 party members, which is pretty dangerous, or warp out and go get your other party member.
Yeah, if your Sage gets Bashurura, you have to warp because she's the one who has Tiptoe, and you're screwed without it. I just want to reiterate, Tiptoe, so it's a free spell that... it decreases your encounter threat level by 60%. It's over half. So you will get in less than half the fights you would without it. It is a massive. If you try to play this game without it and with it, you can just see it's just like a crazy difference in the way the game plays.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. And again, you'd have to heal more. You'd have to spend more MP. You know, it's invaluable, especially in a segment like this.
Yeah, so like Darko, right? Like he didn't get into any fights on that first floor. If you didn't have tiptoe, it would have like been at least 2 on average.
Yep. Well, luckily,
the goodie bag.
yeah, nice little trick bag. I guess he's gonna fight it. Normally, you don't want to fight trick bags in just about any DQ RTA because they have high defense and cast whack status ailments, but
I don't really know why we did that,
they're pretty safe. Generally, if they're by themselves in that situation. But yeah, I would have opted to run there.
but they really just don't get the XP. So, but whatever. Yeah. So you're going to be seeing a fair amount of expel from here on out. I mean, we did see it before, but any enemy that can be expelled, just immediately remove them from the battlefield is beneficial. Pretty much every skeleton enemy that you see, those swordoids or skeletors as they show up in the monster series, those guys, their entire lineage or series, whatever you want to call them, like the family, I guess that's a better word, they can be expelled. So
Yeah.
you go for that option.
If you're not familiar with the Dragon Quest series, kind of one of the shticks or tropes of the series is that there are a lot of monsters, but when you get to a new area and you see a palette swap of a monster you've already fought, that's when you know you're like, oh crap, like I'm definitely in a higher level encounter zone. In some cases you might be there too early, but yeah, they reuse a lot of the same sprites and just change the colors or something small about them. And then they're of course an upgraded version of that enemy, and they keep some of the characteristics of the weaker versions as well. But sometimes they have added spells or different commands in battle that make them more or less of a threat.
Yeah, like our friend, the slime turns into a metal slime. And it's a whole different beast.
Precisely.
Okay, so status update: Darko is getting the silver orb. Pop is about halfway through the dungeon, so we're this far into the race, and it is a race. Like these guys are neck to neck. It is on, and once they get out of this dungeon, they're going to be going towards Japan to get the purple orb, and we're going to be fighting 2 bosses, not quite back to back, but very close. It's effectively you're going to fight one, and then they're going to take a minute to heal and assess their MP situation, and then fight the other.
Yeah, and I don't know that you mentioned when Darko bought them, but prayer rings are items. They're usable items. You use it, and it restores a variable amount of MP to the user. But it also has a chance to break, which means that if it breaks, you lose it out of your inventory, and it can take 1 use to break, or it could take, you could get 10 uses out of it. I don't know that if there's a max, and I actually don't know the % chance.
Yep,
But
so it's 1 in 16 chance, and there is no max.
there is no max. Okay. So yeah, that's having 5 prayer rings, which is, as Clear Tonic said, unheard of. He's pretty set on MP for the rest of the run, and I believe there's 1 or 2 more that you find in treasure chests. 2 more. So
Yep, 2 more.
he is pretty set at a total of 7.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So Orochi's about to go down on Darko stream. Basically, Orochi 1 is free. Nothing really to worry about. You can surround this guy and sleep him, and he goes twice per turn. We can watch Pop here. But yeah, basically, he'll go twice per turn, but he can go once per turn, so it's one or the other. And this guy has either attack or strong flame breath. Strong flame breath does between like 30 and 40 to each character, and then a regular attack will usually miss because you opt to go for surround scratch, which decreases the monster's percentage to hit you. But generally, there's nothing really to worry about in Orochi 1. Orochi 2, which is the fight that Darko is about to be fighting here, as he uses a prayer ring, doesn't break, very nice. So yeah, let's divert our attention to Darko. So Orochi 2 is basically very similar to Orochi 1, but you cannot put Orochi 2 to sleep. Instead, you're just going to surround him, meaning that you're going to decrease his hit percentage, and then generally you're going to, kind of like survive the fight and do whatever you can to debuff him with a sap to decrease his defense, and then you really got to pay attention to your HP thresholds. Your Sage has the ability to use Heal More. Your Mage Warrior, the last party member, has herbs on stock to be able to keep up with healing. But otherwise, the strat for pretty much both fights is that your Mage Warrior, who has that valuable buy kill spell, is going to buy kill your hero, your warrior, and then your Sage, and then everyone's just going to unleash attacks. And that's pretty much the standard strat for taking out enemies. Mage Warrior buy kills everybody, especially the hero, and then they just go hard on attacking. This is looking pretty good for Darko. Pop is in the same fight. Nice little sync we got going on here.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, you can see the HP thresholds go down, and if you get double breath attack on any turn, that's like, it can be between like 60 to 80 damage to everybody, which is terrible. But
Yeah. Strong breath attacks are very threatening to in any context in this run, pretty much. Any like strong multi-target spells from an enemy, it's pretty much the worst thing that you could have happen to your party.
totally. Do it up.
Okay, we have a couple donations here. We got $5 each from Redshifter, Jambler, and Darkman. And the comments for Darkman says, "You guys all own for helping us meet the goal. Dragon Quest 3 owns. Put this to Mario Party 3. So let's see what that brings the total to. It's a lot to a little. There we go.
Poor use pizza.
Actually, it's
Enemies of the stream.
Enemies of the stream, that's right. Friends of the stream have been generously donating for Mario Party 2. And Mario Party 3, Enemies of the stream, $300 down. But everybody who donates is a true friend of the stream anyway.
This is true. Did the other two donors have donation comments, or was it just Darkman's?
We got it. That's it.
All right.
Yeah, so both of them really don't have any problems with getting through Orochi 2. We have one orb left. You want to talk about the merchant side quest real quick? Or
Is this a slight poke at my last attempt at playing this game?
Man, nothing.
So, at the beginning of the game, both of these players made. You can make as many party members as you want, and they are stored at the tavern, which is the place where they would be if Darko had gotten Bashirura. So you make a dealer character at the beginning of the game. The dealer is another one of the character classes that you can make. Not very useful in the run, but is actually required for this segment. There's a guy here that's trying to build a town and believes, I guess, that your merchant character, your dealer character, is somehow instrumental in doing that. I don't actually remember the specifics, but so you basically just kind of do this little story sequence where you enter the town. No, I believe it's translated as Newtown. And you just kind of enter and exit, and every time you re-enter the town, it gets slightly more developed, and then finally it's actually a town. And then I forget the exact reason, but the dealer gets thrown in prison by the town's people for one reason or another. And we don't really care about that. We're just here to get the orb, so...
Yeah, story is that you create a friend, you use them for a purpose, and then you stop caring about them and get the item. So
yeah, in so many words, that's pretty much what's going on here. Yeah, but what happened to Pop? I actually wasn't paying attention. It looks like he got a bad encounter or something that put him a little bit behind, or maybe that was just his Orochi fight.
Yeah, I think that went pretty smoothly for both of them. I think he was just like that far behind. But yeah, everything Countess said is correct in that I just want to add that there are some weird triggers to progressing the town, and basically all you need to know is that when you have the 5 other orbs, you can just do this, like, go in and out of the town to progress the development of the town so far that you can get the yellow orb. So that being said, Pop's about to get the yellow orb. Darko has it. That means they have all 6 orbs, which means that they're going to be making their way up towards Lamia. And so they're going to be placing the orbs up here. And in the immortal words of Maru-san, it's toilet time.
It's toilet time.
It means that they have a solid 1-minute break that they're allowed to take right after this. So my guess is that these guys are going to take a deep breath as they get into what is one of the more stressful fights for sure, and getting into the end game as they try to close out this very, very close race. I mean, these guys, this is close, and like it'll still be close for a little while until we get to the final stretch.
Oh yeah. Another thing, I guess we haven't talked about this at all. As part of the rule set for this game, both of these players are using a turbo controller, and I believe the standard is to leave both B and X on turbo. You can cancel text boxes with B, and I believe both of them, the controllers that they're using, have both a turbo function, which rapidly presses the button as you hold it instead of you having to mash. But it also has a function called auto fire, where you just switch it over to auto fire and it will rapidly press that button without you touching it. You can just put the controller down and go elsewhere and have your toilet time or drink your tea or whatever.
So instead of toilet time, Darko opts to load a GIF.
It is dog time.
Use.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, this is close. You see that these guys are within, I mean, basically it has to be within a minute of each other. And another thing we'll bring up very briefly is that along with the rule set of being able to use turbo controllers, you're also not allowed to do what's called an item duplication glitch. So I'll just kind of keep it brief, but the idea is that you can only, as I look at this dog, you are able to duplicate one set of 1 items in your bag, meaning that you could duplicate an orb, but it's strictly banned for this category, which is like typically a quote-unquote glitchless run.
Yeah, most Dragon Quests, or most of the most popular Dragon Quest RTAs in Japan are glitchless with an asterisk, because there's usually 1 or 2 things in each run that kind of border on the line of being a glitch, like for instance in this game, abusing the fact that you can unequip and re-equip equipment in battle to negate debuffs. One might consider that a glitch, but again, it's not hugely game breaking, whereas using the magic key to duplicate an orb would save you, for instance, having to go through that entire trade sequence and the Necrogond, which would save tons of time.
Yeah. You would lose out on the Thunder Sword, which is and the Sword Edge armor, both of which are really valuable, but it would totally save a lot of time. Okay. I think so. What these guys are going to do is that they're going to pick up a world leaf, or a leaf of the world tree, that is effectively a one-time use item that gives you a full. If a character dies, whether it's in battle or outside of battle, it'll fully revive them. Looks like so Pop is just picking up the character that he had to deposit earlier. And so they're also going to pick up the light orb, which is, they need that in order to fight Zoma. And I'm going to start talking about Baramos now, because when we get to the Baramos fight, it's going to be kind of hectic. And if you don't mind, Countdown, I'm going to do I'm going to try to do some play-by-play of what goes on in the Baramos fight, just kind of react to what's happening.
Okay.
So it might be some rapid-fire discussion, but
I'm ready for it. So
right.
the general strategy of the Baramos fight is that you're going to attempt to put him to sleep, while also buffing your characters with buy, kill, and increase. And and also using Surround and Sap on him, so you kind of want to get your stat going. Baramos regens 100 HP per turn, I believe it is, and
90 to 110. Yeah, it's basically
90 to 110. Okay. So, so you don't want to start attacking until you're fully stacked. All the while you're using sleep staves and the sleep spell to try and put him to sleep. And I guess I will let Tonic do the translating as far as who is asleep and when.
Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna follow Darko's stream only because he's ahead, and I'll try to catch up with Pops. I kind of wish there was a little bit disparities so we could get through both of them, but there's gonna be 2 Baramos fights going on at once. It's gonna be pretty rough. But yeah, it's exactly as Countdown said. You want to manage who's asleep, what debuffs are on Baramos, which are huge. Another thing is that Baramos is specifically on a set cycle of his attacks, and they are incredibly dangerous, both like before you land Stop Spell and after you land Stop Spell, which are 2 different AI loops. Baramos has Marizoma, Blazemos, which can do like around 100 damage to one character, has Explodette, which can do around like 50 to 75 to each character, has Strong Flame Breath, which will do about 60 to 90 depending on the character, has regular physical attacks, can cast Bashi Aurora and have one of your characters dispelled back out of your party to your hometown. The guy is just like incredible, has just so much in his arsenal, but he is he is susceptible to being put to sleep, to being surrounded, meaning that his hit rate goes down, and being stop spelled. So you have tools in your arsenal to take him down, namely those 2 sleep staffs that we had. So it's a really tough fight, and I just want to reiterate what Countdown said before. This guy recovers HP every turn. So if you don't keep up with him and you try to do some damage and you let it slip and you have to heal and he's recovering HP, it could go on way longer than you would like.
Oh yeah, and he can wake up at any time, so if he wakes up and starts wailing on you and doesn't fall asleep for another 4 turns, then all of the damage that you have done is being healed back per turn. You want to talk about the Iron Eyes usage as well at the beginning?
So basically at the beginning, you're going to Iron Eyes with one of your characters. You're going to have 3 turns of no actions from your characters, and it's to get onto a good part of the spell listing for the boss's AI loop. Okay, so here, Baramos is asleep. We still got to set up. We got buy kill on the warrior so we can do some damage. We're going to cast Manusa, Surround. Looks like it landed. Baramos is sleeping. Baramos still needs to get Stop Spell in order to make it actually safe because he's still on the dangerous part of the loop. Sage lands Rukani. Got Stop Spell. This is looking really good for Darko. So he's awake now, so we got to keep him asleep, but now we can start buffing our own party. Buy kill on the warrior now. He was on the hero before. He's awake. Baramos is still scary when he's awake. Can do Flame Breath. He's attacking. Here comes the Flame Breath. Look at how much damage this does. A lot of damage. He defended with his Sage, which was a smart thing to do. No, I'm sorry. It was Mage Warrior, excuse me. And yeah, so we're going to heal up with the Sage. We still need to buff our characters enough so that we can reliably take down Baramos. The idea is that we need to have buy kill on at least 2 party members to spit out enough damage to keep up with the HP regen. So just still looking at Darko's stream. Baramos is asleep, a little more safe. Now we can start attacking, see some damage output. We did increase so that we have some more defense if the Baramos decides to do some physicals. Baramos is napping. We're doing some hits. 220. We got another Sukuruto, which is increase coming. 170, 148. And here it comes. So Darko's in good spot. He's just going to keep wailing. Got to keep him asleep, though, because Baramos is coming hot. Look at the damage. 74, 75, 95 to the Sage. It's incredible. This guy is like, he's not a problem when he's asleep, but when he's awake, he's a nightmare. But here we go. We got a few turns of Baramos getting some HP back, but we're back, doing some damage. He's still awake, but he's on a favorable part of his cycle. Now he's asleep. Darko's in good spot. He's going to capitalize. Everybody's attacking. He's going for the kill. He's going to use Sage to heal in case he wakes up again. He's awake. It's a little scary, but it's getting close to the end of the fight. Go, push it. Are we going to see a Flame Breath here? We are. Sage might go down. Watch the last character. Sage goes down, not a good sign, but he's just going to push his way through. He finishes the fight. He loses 16k EXP on the Sage, but it goes to the other characters. Now let's take a look at Pop, try to assess what's going on here.
Pop's had a pretty good setup here so far. He got a first try stop spell, and he was able to get a good stack off while he was asleep. But now he's just struggling to put him back to sleep while he stacks his own characters. Looks like he's got buy kill and Sukaruto increase on all of his characters. So he's just kind of waiting for his opening. Looks like Baramos finally fell asleep here, so we're going to see him kind of unload. Sage is being good about healing, and he's just wailing on him. You get to a certain point where all you can do is attack and put him to sleep, and that he has reached that point. But if Baramos keeps up this pattern of not falling asleep, we might see another Flame Breath. But there we go. I do have a question though. If he's asleep, does his turn order still tick or not?
It stays where it is until he's awake.
Unfortunate for Pop though, he did get surround off, but I've seen two physical attacks land from Baramos so far, which is really not good. That's not something you want to see. Medusa is incredibly powerful. The surround spell, which
he went for it. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but he could have been hit with a flame breath, and probably two characters would have died.
Wow!
He went for just physicals and didn't even care about the Sage. Having 30 HP, just went in, paid off.
Wow, that's insane! What a way to end that fight.
Yeah. So Baramos is the single most source of EXP in the entire game, even with any bonus content. 65535 EXP, and that is an incredible amount of EXP for your characters. Again, keep in mind that we're going to finish this game at around level 22 to 24, depending on the characters. Most people who play Dragon Quest III, that's nothing. So every EXP that you can get towards your characters is incredibly valuable. So Darko having his Sage die mean that comparatively she is under-leveled, but the other three characters will be slightly over-leveled. Ideally, and trust me, you really want all four characters alive to have split EXP, because everyone is valuable and it's really better.
I'm curious to see it's funny you say that. So we actually found a way to kind of mitigate the loss of levels early on for the warrior during his grind, but that's at the cost of the Sage losing some levels, and then he's probably going to have to fight some extra encounters on the way to Zoma's castle or in Zoma's castle, maybe to make up some of the levels on the Sage, because the Sage is an incredibly important cornerstone of the Zoma fight, because she acts first most of the time, and if anybody is in kind of critical HP after Zoma attacks and the warrior Sage Stones, then you want her to be able to heal first thing.
Yes, totally.
And then also, so having her survivability be as high as possible is really key.
Yeah, so we've been talking about seeds, and we've been talking about how Pop just randomly collects some extra seeds. So in a situation where your character has less stats in a certain pool, which is usually just HP or strength, that's realistic for you to collect. Oh, look at this. Another backup seed here. I didn't know about this one either. Yeah, these guys have been racing so much that they know all of the specific race strats. But anyways, Darko gets a strength seed there. But the idea is that if his Sage is lower on HP than he would like because of that level up situation, he will have extra HP seeds to put towards the Sage's HP max level to kind of make up for that deficit. That being said, his Sage has 185 HP, so it's not really a concern. Ideally, we can talk about the ideal thresholds as we get closer to the final stretch, but his Sage is basically in pretty good shape.
So I don't really understand the implications of this, but maybe you know a little bit better. Darko frequently, if not all of the time, forgoes getting the most powerful sword in the game, the King's Sword. And not only is it an incredibly powerful weapon for the hero, but it also casts Infermost on every enemy. You have infinite uses of it in battle, and he is foregoing that. Now, what are your thoughts on that?
So this is kind of semi-recent development. I mean, semi-recent is in like 2 years ago, runners starting doing this. So just to give some context, the difference here is that originally you would always go into I think it's called the Warrior Cave, and you would get effectively 60,000 gold. And then you would also go to a town called Mercado and get the Orichalcum, and then you would get the King Sword, which is what Countdown was just talking about. So top level runners, and typically not in races, top level runners typically do this, is that they skip that. And the King Sword is for your hero, and it does an incredible amount of attack power damage, and also has that, it's called Infamous or Arrow Cross. It's that infinite spell utility, which is hugely beneficial. But recently, top level runners have stopped doing that, and that they use the Thunder Sword, which is a sword that you get earlier in the game, and they just say, okay, we're going to just cut out that entire visit. We're not going to do it at all. We're going to take like a less, I guess, safe setup, but we're just going to gun it and go all the way. I feel like this is kind of the story of how Darko plays his games, but he typically kind of does these alternate strats, so it's not too surprising to see him do it, but it's whether or not it's going to be beneficial in a race setting is kind of it's definitely the luck of the draw. There are certain fights that having that King Sword is like massively beneficial.
Yeah, there's going to be points at which he's just going to have to run from a fight, like or you know, maybe he'll lose some time, like the Archmage fights. He gets like 3 times Archmage. You know, you could just defend with everybody and use the King's Sword twice and just wipe the whole fight. But in that case, he might have to run. He might choose to run away, or he might choose to actually attempt to fight that for whatever reason. And those guys, if any of them are left alive and one of them is dead, they will cast Revive and revive them 100% of the time with full HP. So
I'm sure we'll see them later.
That's pretty BS. And then, yes, as Lav had said, the Salamanders fight without the King's Sword is much more precarious.
Darko is in a rough situation. So
I didn't even see this.
He got this exact encounter before and failed to run away 3 times. And basically now he's in a situation where half his characters are dead, and he had the exact same fight, and he's failing to run away again. He opted to fight the first turn to put them to sleep, 70% chance of sleeping each one of those Krakens. But those guys can go up to 3 times per turn, and they do about 40 to 60 damage, and they can critical you. So it was like incredibly unlucky, but at the same point, he didn't get criticaled. So, yeah. And I believe he's holding on to a whole bunch of money right now, so that would have been like devastating for his strategy. Meanwhile, Pop is getting the King Sword, so we will see some different strats. If you watch Pop, while I was talking about Darko, he just went into that cave that I was just talking about, and I believe, unless I'm mistaken, that he got the goods at the bottom of that cave.
Yep.
And we'll be getting the King Sword.
Did. And so, well, that might create a bit of a disparity between these 2 runners. Pop's, we're going to start seeing Pop making up time little by little. The more that we continue on, Pop is going to have more strength on his hero and more versatility. I didn't know this, but it didn't occur to me that you forego also getting the Sage Staff in Cole.
That's correct. Yes.
So as Lavitz pointed out, it's going to depend heavily on the MP of the Sage, which shouldn't be too much of an issue because of how stacked Darko is on prayer rings. But still, it's that kind of a trade-off, you know. And Darko is like we said, he does this all of the time. This is a strategy that he is very familiar with, and he's very familiar with the consequences, the pluses and the minuses of this strategy. So we will see how it pays off for him and how it pays off for Pop as well, because we could see a lead change. We could see Pop just slowly creeping up on him. So I'm interested to see how this goes.
Yeah, totally. I think Pop definitely made up some time because Darko just had to revive 2 characters, and he had to take effectively an unoptimal warp to do so. But yeah, basically what they're doing now, and just kind of give you, sure, I'll give a lore update. We took down Baramos, who is supposedly the evil arch nemesis, but it turns out that there was somebody else pulling the string. So we had to go into the dark world to find out who that was. And when we're down here, we need to collect a whole bunch of artifacts that are from Dragon Quest 1. Well, technically they come from this game first, but they are what you see in terms of game release in Dragon Quest 1. And we have to go do that. We have to go make the ingredients, or we have to collect the ingredients to make the rainbow drop so that we can access Charlock Castle, or where Zoma hangs out. So yeah, just to give your attention to Pop stream for a sec. Oh, Hogray, I'm sorry. Attention back on Darko's stream.
This could be huge for him. He's trying to run away.
Okay, never mind.
He doesn't want to fight the chimeras, I guess.
Yeah. They are actually really dangerous, so that's probably a good thing. It's too bad because you do want to see the Hogray.
Yeah.
Hogray is a liquid metal slime, or metable, or metal babble. Okay. Anyways, so yeah, Darko. I'm sorry, Pop just sold the Orichalcum to the shop, and now he's going to go pick up a whole bunch of stuff. He's picking up the Sage's Staff, which is a free cast of Heal More in battle, which is very, very beneficial. It's used in the standard route that Pop is doing. And also he gets a Sword Edge Armor, which is also another thing that I believe Darko cannot get. So another Sword Edge Armor, which does reflect damage. And you'll see that in the Zoma fight, but it's a huge source of damage output. And basically, when you get hit by a physical, you reflect half of it back to the originator. And then he's also going to pick up the King Sword that we've been talking about for 35 Gs. And yeah. And then what's happening here to continue along with the story is that we're trying to get the ingredients to get the rainbow drop, but we have to go to Rubis Tower, which is pretty much like the only dungeon. I mean, you do have to go in that cave before, but it's like the only main dungeon that you have to do in the Dark World in order to progress before getting into the final castle. And you can, as we saw on Darko stream, we can find Hogarays here, metal slimes, and they have the highest chance of showing up on the ultimate, or the top floor. So let's see what Darko sees. If you see them, they're worth 10 metal slimes, and it's generally very beneficial to get one. You're guaranteed one fight. No, I'm sorry, you're not guaranteed, but you're almost guaranteed based on the threshold. I am curious whether or not Darko will fight another fight here. My guess is no, but he's looking to get some extra EXP on the Sage, so it's possible.
Those tiles there that you see on Pop stream, by the way, the diamonds, if you notice that there's a dark side and a light side, the light side indicates which direction is now up on your controller, and then everything else is relative to that. And we'll be seeing those in the final dungeon. There's an area where it's just a room full of that, and then pits. So if you don't know what you're doing, you can easily fall. But these guys are very experienced, and they know how to what direction to hold. It can if you're not tight on your execution, though, it can still trip you up. And having to do any extra walking because you fell because of those tiles, just means more encounters, more healing, more time lost.
Okay, so Pop picked up they both picked it up, but they picked up the light armor, or Hikari no Yoroi, which is an incredible hero-only equip that drastically reduces spell damage. I actually don't know the percentage, but if I had to guess, it's probably 50%. Explodettes from the final stretch from Baramos Bomus do like 30 damage, and it does like 60 to 70 to everybody else. But anyways, the point is that it's like an incredibly good piece of armor. So he picked that up for the hero. He's about to get the talisman so that he can keep going on this quest to get the rainbow drop. Meanwhile, Darko is a little bit further along. Basically just finished the dungeon that Pop is in now. And basically, because of the route for the King Sword versus the non-King Sword, and just keep you in the loop, on the left, Darko is not having the King Sword. Does not have it. On the right, Pop does have it. And because Pop had to go to a town for an ingredient, he's going to be able to warp to Mercado, which will speed up his collection stuff that he's doing right now, just a little bit comparatively to Darko. So check this out.
Yeah, Darko still has to walk, or still had to walk from Tantagel to Mercado.
Yeah. So I've watched Pop before. I believe he's going to stop on land coming up fairly soon. And if he doesn't get into an encounter before he gets into this, he's going to stop on land maybe to try to force a Hagure fight, because in these forests you have a decent chance of seeing them. So let's see what he does. Maybe, maybe not. I don't think so. Okay, I kind of take that back. But anyways, the point being is that in those forests, you do have a generally higher chance of getting into a Metal Babel fight. So when we walk towards the Zoma's castle, you may see some Hagure show up. And yeah, I mean, like generally, if you get into a fight with them, it's just massively beneficial. Okay, my opinion is that the Dark World is like the coolest part of the game, for both running and to watch. See Darko. All right, no Hagure. But yeah, I mean, there's so many different fights here, and generally, this is the point in the game in which your party is like, you know, like actually powerful. So it's really cool to think about all the strats you have and there's so many different encounters in this section that like you have to be prepared and ready for every one of them. And it's also not safe at all. And you have to worry about MP management. This entire stretch after Ruba's Tower, I mean, including Ruba's Tower too. So you have to manage all your MP pretty much throughout the rest of the game. And your sage only has so much MP, and you need to make it work all the way through the final boss. So you have to think about taking the inn if you should. You have to think about your prayer rings. You have to think about like whether or not you should heal or fight this battle or do whatever. It's just like there's so many mechanics. There's so many elements. But yeah, so Pop is getting that rainbow drop we've been talking about on the right. Darko on the left is on his way to Charlock Castle. Some of these fights are very scary and can do tons of damage. Zoma's Castle just has like very, very scary fights. Look out for the archmages that Countdown was talking about before. They can revive their fallen brethren, which is awful. Troll Kings that you see here can send your party members back to your hometown, which is awful if they get that off. And they can also they can't crit you. You can see Balrogs, which have the chance of casting Zala Ki, which you may be familiar is one of the names of our runners who's going to AGDQ. Zala Ki is the defeat spell, and I don't know the percent chance, but it'll be cast on all party members and has a chance of instantly killing them, which is awful. And yeah, everyone here is just super dangerous. Sorry. Go ahead.
Pop has a famous clip of him playing Dragon Quest II, in which he's in the final dungeon and runs into a couple of Balrogs, and they cast Zaraki. They kill 2 out of 3 of his party members. One of them revives another one, and then the other Balrog also casts Zaraki and just wipes his party. There's just nothing he can do. It's pretty similar. It's a pretty similar experience in Zoma's Castle as well with those Balrogs. They only have. Oh, I missed what happened. Oh, Hagure.
I'm sorry. Oh, he's sticking around. We got it confused. Oh, we got 14 damage. Hog. Woo! Champ.
Hagu-chan. Nope. Pop needs this less than Darko does, because Pop had all of his party members alive for the Baramos victory, but that will still give Pop a distinct advantage going into the Zoma's Castle fight, or fights, I should say.
I'm sorry, if you continue with your train of thought.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say that the Balrog enemies, the guys that can cast Zaraki or defeat, they have like some like 90 or 100 HP, so they're pretty weak, and they're susceptible to stop spell, so that you don't have to cast Zaraki. And both of these racers have, in addition to sleep staffs, they also have the silent staff that is basically just a staff that they can use to cast a free stop spell. So I think that'll be their number one priority if they get into an encounter. Another great reason to have the King Sword is because you can wipe out a group of Balrogs pretty quickly with it. But, you know, Darko willingly taking that disadvantage for the time save. We'll see how that goes.
Okay, so yeah, that's all very true. An extra element is that these green Titans, they have a 1 in 256 drop of the, I think it's called the Thor sword. Is what it translates to? I think Raijin no Ken.
Oh, yeah.
It is a little less stronger than the King sword, but it's an incredibly good weapon, and it has a free cast of Exploda. And,
I did not know that. Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
So let's see if Darko manages to pull that one out of his behind. Oh, we see Balrogs on pop stream here. Luckily, he's got a stop spell off. He's got them wiped out in quick fashion. So
yeah. So you have to fight 3 sets of green Titans here, Grand Titans, and that's just required. And they're pretty simple, but they do have the ability to crit you. However, you have the ability to sleep them, and it's 70% chance of sleeping them. Now, Darko had to sell one of his sleep staffs, I believe, because his Sage is casting sleep, unless you put it on somebody else. But Pop definitely has 2 sleep staves. This is a race. These guys are close. However, this is what Countdown was saying before, but like the Metal Babble kill for Pop is like hugely beneficial. Not only just like in terms of tankiness, but like basically Pop is set up to just tank his way through this dungeon. And it's not that Darko is like really in like a worse off situation. It's just that Pop's got the ability to whip out the King Sword if he needs. Pop is going to go into the final stretch of the game with a slightly stronger hero because of the King Sword. And, you know, all the time savings of not getting the King Sword have already passed. So to see these guys this close, you know, it's kind of, even if Pop is basically one fight before, it's kind of in Pop's favor. That being said, the rest of the boss fights are like incredibly variable, except for, I mean, some of them are more variable than others, but especially Zoma, like anything can happen. So
yeah, and the other thing to point out that I don't know that you noticed, but I certainly noticed right away. Pop Sage is level 19, and Darko Sage is level 16, which is not very good.
Yeah, no, totally.
I would be incredibly worried about my Sage at this point. I think by the time he finishes the boss rush, he'll be 17 or 18, but that's still very low.
That being said, the HP on the Sage is actually not bad, whereas Pop Sage has roughly the same HP. So, but yeah, you know, in terms of speed, it's really important that a few extra levels on your Sage. So I guess we alluded to it before, but yeah, turn order in this game is not concrete. It's definitely influenced by your agility, and it should be kind of like a 1-to-1 ratio of higher agility is higher chance of going first in battle. But you know, you can definitely get kind of screwed over by turn order. And
well,
basically, go ahead.
I was just going to say what it should be and what it is are usually different. Well, can be very different to your detriment.
Oh, we got 2 tough fights here. Okay, on the left, Darko dealing with Balrogs. They didn't cast defeat, which is really cool. On the right, Pop used the King Sword to his advantage by using it twice in battle to be able to clear out these guys. He used a very interesting move called Slow All, which decreases the speed of the dragon so that he can guarantee on turn 2 that he would go first. That's a really cool strat, and it protects him from having to heal too much. But yeah, you know, that was just the versatility of the King Sword working out in his favor. If Darko got in the same fight, he would have to gamble on either running away or trying to put them to sleep, which is relatively low chance, 30%.
I actually didn't know that there was a slow all spell that we had access to.
Yeah, Bomiosu.
Bomiosu, okay. There we go. That's awesome. And that's a great strategy. Oh, did he get an encounter? Oh no, this is not good.
This is a terrible. Okay, so left Archmages, they cast Ionazun, Explode It, you just see how much raw damage these do. They have the ability to revive themselves and other fallen enemies. And then, of course, the guys on the right can straight up defeat you. Pop, playing this very expertly, uses the King Sword to do spread damage to both, and then has one physical on each Archmage in one turn, being able to wipe them out so that the next turn they don't cast Return. But he gambles and hopes that the Balrog on the right doesn't cast Defeat, but it didn't. So it worked out for him.
Yes.
But still.
It's also worth mentioning that these players, they picked up the one Leaf of the World tree, the one revive item, before going to Baramos, and then they are only going to get one more, and it's right after this cutscene. In this little, there's a cache of treasure chests around the corner that they're going to get. So they only have two ways to revive, or two chances to revive a dead party member, and Defeat has a chance to kill all 4 of your party members. So, not to mention that you want to be able to have at least one for the Zoma fight. They both have both of their leaves still, so, it's anybody's game.
Sayonara, Ortega-san. But yes, Hero's father goes down. We are going to be picking up the Sage's Stone, which is basically a free heal us spell that you can use repeatedly in battle once per turn. And you're going to get another prayer ring here. And yeah, we're about to enter the final stretch. We've got pretty much, we're going to have to take a look at their stats, but basically it looks like on Pop's side, his Mage Warrior has 313 HP, which is incredibly high, and he's probably going to put his HP seeds towards the Warrior, whereas Darko, let's see. Darko is both his Mage Warrior and his Mage. You see those first 2 characters, they want to have about 300 HP max. They're a little bit low, but he's got a bunch of life nuts that he can put towards that.
Yes.
So yeah.
And he's going to be gaining potentially one more level before the boss rush, or before Zoma after the boss rush, I should say, which, like I said way earlier, is when you are going to be using all of your seeds that you've built up, because you're basically just kind of hoping, I need to get to this threshold, I need to power up my characters as much as possible, I don't have any other time to fight random encounters or any more bosses, this is it. So that, they're most effective before the final boss.
Here we go. Darko, final stretch. There are 4 bosses. You can heal in between bosses and rearrange your party and rearrange items, but we've got 4 bosses coming up. Pop is right behind him, really close. All right, King Hydra first. King Hydra is definitely the easiest of the 4, least chance of dying. King Hydra has either physical attack or quote-unquote strong breath attack, which is really not that strong at this point in the game. If you get double physicaled on any character on the first turn, King Hydra can kill somebody, but once you make it past that, you're pretty much free. The idea here is that we're doing the same strat. We're going to buy kill 2 party members at first, which is going to be the hero, the main attacker, and then the warrior. The Mage Warrior. And those 2 are going to be the attackers. The warrior, pretty much throughout the rest of these fights, the warrior is now just a tank who's going to be spamming Sage's Stone to heal the party. And again, Sage's Stone allows you to heal your party for about 80 to 100 every turn without any cost. So it's huge.
Yeah, it's a DQ staple, and it is absolutely invaluable. You definitely would not be able to finish the game at these levels without the Sage's Stone, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. MP, get some MP on your Sage, and you're going into Bomus on the left here. Bomus has very low HP, 1100, but Bomus can go up to 3 times per turn, can do strong Flame Breath, just like the Baramos fight, can cast Ionazun, which is Explode at, and can do physicals. It's a really rough start, 2 Flame Breaths, really dangerous, but only goes twice per turn. Bomus has incredibly high defense, so in order to do anything in the fight, you have to decrease its defense, and then you just start wailing. It's really scary, though. If he goes 3 times per turn, every turn, you are going to die. Looks like Pop on the right is having no problems with King Hydra. Everyone's at high HP, should get through. But Bomus is actually kind of cooperating, got a physical only once per turn. Looks like Darko is going to be able to coast his way through. Good.
All right, let's see this last faithful turn. Wow, another single action turn from
Yeah, that's
Bomus.
great.
This is a really lucky fight so far.
Awesome.
Wow. Yep, that was good. That was about as good as it could have been, aside from the 2 Flame Breath opening. But all right, we see the sage hit level 18. He's going into Iberamos Zombie, which is
Holy crap.
pretty free.
Yeah.
What's up?
I think we should talk about Pop just getting through this fight, because Baramos Zombie is actually not that interesting. Just physicals only.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, Pop's doing pretty good, and looks like, I mean, just like watch every turn how many actions the Bomus takes. Every action can be devastating. They just keep stacking. But yeah, it's basically as Countdown said. If you get like a free turn with only 1 or 2 physicals, it's pretty nice. Looking good. So I'm just looking at Pop here. We'll talk about the Darko's fight in a second. But yeah, basically all of these spam area all attacks, they're really scary. But this fight should not go on that long. Did you see that damage? 276 damage. That is an output that Darko will not be able to get on his hero.
No.
This is close. Dang.
Yes, this is an insane raise. All it will take, and I mean, Darko looks like he's in the lead, but he is absolutely guaranteed to have a slower Zoma fight because of the lack of King's Sword. And he's going to have to concentrate more on healing. And, well, we'll get to, when we get to the Zoma fight, we'll talk about it. But, there's going to be some variable strategies, either using buy kill or increase or sap, depending on your situation. That, I think Darko is going to have to play it a little bit safer because of his levels and because of his lack of King's Sword.
Yeah, totally. Okay, Zombie Baramos, physicals only, not really too scary once you get set up with high damage. Zombie Baramos has 0 defense, so we're good. Nothing really to worry about. Looks like Pop will get through. Darko is going to be doing his last bit of item management. He's going to swap around some weapons on his warriors, and then he's going to use as many prayer rings as he needs. You basically just use all of your prayer rings. Looks like he had no problem with the extras that he got, but a bunch broke. And then finally, he's going to be using his life force nuts to give the max HP boosts. He's got 6. He's using them all on what I believe is, it's the hero, to beef up the hero. 1 on the sage. Going to heal everybody up, and then he's going straight into the boss. And it looks like Pop is not too far behind. Just like Countdown said, Pop is going to have a slightly simpler time in Zoma, but it's still a very dangerous fight. All right, let's talk about Zoma real quick. Turn 1 of Zoma, you have to use the light orb to be able to get him out of his dark phase to his light phase, in which you will actually be able to fight him. That being said, Zoma has 4 attacks. He can do physical, he can do freezing waves, which gets rid of all buffs on your characters. He can do strong flame breath, and it's a very strong flame breath. Does between 80 to 110 damage, and then can do Mahiato, which is blizzard, which is definitely the best attack to get. It does about 50 to 70 to everybody.
Yes.
Okay. Sick music. We've got the strats. It's actually a pretty simple fight compared to some other fights in this game. The idea is that your mage warrior is going to be defending in the first slot to try to soak as much hits as possible. Your warrior is going to be, your mage warrior is also going to be casting buy kill on the hero when she's not defending. Your warrior is just going to sit there, the second slot, and just heal up over and over with the Sage's Stone. The hero in the third slot is only going to do physical attacks or defend, and just it's going to be your primary source of damage. And then your sage is going to be doing some spot healing. And so the idea is that you're going to try to build up on your hero, get some physicals in, and every time that Zoma does freezing waves, you kind of need to reset your buffs.
Yeah, freezing waves will dispel all instances of buy kill, increase sap. So you're going to want to... That's what I was kind of talking about in the decision-making process here. Depending on what your HP values are, especially on the warrior, who is the Sage Stone user, by far the most important person in the fight to keep alive. You can have your party member, or you can have your mage warrior use an extra increase after he buy kills, or you can go aggressive if you feel you're close to the end of the fight and have the sage use sap on Zoma. There's plenty of different decisions to make. Seeing the warrior at 30 HP is really making my stomach lurch. Oh, he preemptively. Wow, did you see that?
Yeah, that's awesome.
The preemptive world leaf.
Yeah, it's smart. Because especially if your warrior goes down early, your warrior is the only thing that's healing your party beside your sage getting one-offs. Your warrior is healing everybody in your party. So if he goes down, you're out of your main healing source, which is terrible. So you can preemptively use a world leaf to be able to protect against losing a turn of your warrior healing.
Right. Over on Pop's stream, looks like he's maintaining his HP levels pretty good. He's not getting a lot of flame breaths, which is really nice. He got a couple of physicals and a snowstorm. He is getting a lot of freezing waves, though, so he's having to rebuff a lot, unfortunately. And...
Oh, watch out, Darko! So, Darko... but he does the preemptive leap again, very smart, but he's in rough shape. Darko playing kind of aggressively, but getting double flame breath, which is almost unrecoverable. Look at that damage. 179 damage from Zoma. This is the final boss of the game. He does not mess around.
Oh, wow. Darko got incredibly lucky there.
Yeah,
he had attacked anybody but the hero. He would have been unable to turn that around. Holy cow.
Go. All right, this is tight. Looks like, Pop is having a little more composure, but also, as Captain said, like not having the fastest fight, getting a lot of freezing waves. Whereas Darko is kind of keeping up with damage, but now is in a steady spot, but it was really, really dicey there for a second. Yes, I will say that both, Pop on the right has higher HP on his first two characters, which even like a swing of 20 HP is a huge difference in terms of like tankability and survivability.
Indeed, and the other thing is that you need to take into account is that when Zoma uses a physical attack, two of your party members have the sword edge armor, which will deal about 60 damage back to him, which is, kind of a silver lining to being physical. Physicals are usually bad, especially if you're in a sketchy situation like Darko was, but the sword edge armor can definitely, I've seen Zoma fights won with one character alive in the sword edge armor. Totally.
All right, Pop is starting to play a little bit more risky. Maybe he knows the situation he's in. Gets a nice snowstorm. He's going for both buy kill and sap, so he's trying to maximize damage. Just look how much damage his hero does. You see the big 200 plus numbers. And Dark was doing okay too, but not doing as much damage. These guys are super close. I mean, it's really hard to say. It's like they've been in the fight long enough that it could end soon, but you really do not know it's over until it's actually over. Every turn, especially near the end, what separates the boys from the men in this game is knowing that the end of a Zoma fight is coming and just starting to play super aggressively. I've seen Pop do this so many times that he just like starts to clutch it out. You can see here that his like HP is getting a little bit lower. He's playing a little bit more risky. He's just like going for more attacks in which he could have defended. Meanwhile, Darko, like his HP levels has just been like super low this entire time. Look at that hero, 36. Again, like a death is almost unrecoverable.
They both have two world leaps. Darko has used one. I'm not sure how he delegated his world leaps. I think usually you give one to the hero and one to the mage warrior or the sage. His sage had one and he used it on the hero, so that's it. So he's got one more.
Pop son!
Oh my. That's it.
G.
Wow.
G. Beautifully played. He clutches it out. 242 damage to clutch out the win. Incredible fight.
Pop was playing so aggressively towards the end. He knew it. He knew that it was coming very soon. And when Zoma's down to about 1,000 HP or less, that's when you know all you need is about 6 or 7 more turns of constant attacking, and then you're set. Looks like Darko's going to finish out strong, though. I think he's got this fight under control.
Yeah, if you're in this fight this long, it's pretty much guaranteed that you've done enough damage, and he's just going to kind of like attrition his way through. He's in pretty good shape. He did use a leaf before. I'm not sure he has another one, but if he can just kind of survive through the end, you can start playing aggressively. You can start using some Blazemore spells with your Sage if everyone's healed. Let's see what he does. Goes for Rukani instead. But yeah, it really shouldn't be too much longer unless something catastrophic happens. But let's see.
All right, Darko, bring us on home. Let's see it. I'm waiting for a Marami kill.
Love those. Ooh, nice Mahiato. It's a good thing to see this late. He's getting desperate. Sweaty. Zoma's sweating. He knows it's over.
Yeah, man. He knows his number's up, dude.
Ooh, see that 78 damage reflect? Oh, 64. 248. That's a great damage roll.
248 is a sick amount of damage to be doing to this boss.
Sage goes down. It's getting desperate. Let's go. Clutch it out.
The double physical on the Sage? No! This has to be it.
He's
got
okay.
He's got
good freezing waves. He's got to leave. This is it. Come on. Come on. Go, 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 go. Mahiato.
He's going in.
Sweating! Soma can't understand. It's over. Let's go. Bye kill. Rukani. He's playing aggressively.
Oh yeah.
Clutch it out.
He's at good HP totals. Zoma is freaking out though. He keeps using freezing waves. Like he just wants to slow this down as much as possible. Wow.
Oh, he goes first. Outspeed the Sage. Come on, Warrior, survive. Warrior's gonna survive because that's a snowstorm. Looking good. Gonna get back on top. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go. Critical. 177, 188.
Nice Kaishin. Yeah, man. If the warrior had taken a physical or a flame breath, I think he would have been toast, and this fight would have been or he would have been on his last legs.
Oh, we're seeing Marami. He knows it's coming.
Oh, baby.
Blazemore. Let's see the kill. 53. It's super close.
The Marami kill for the fans.
Back to Rukani. Oh, 60. Maybe some reflect damage. 74. Oh, a miss. Oh, 250. There it is. Boom.
Very nice.
Boom. Shaka. Laka.
Nice run, boys. Wow. What a finish.
Hell yeah.
That is insane. And I think Pop got... I'm not entirely sure how far into the credits he is or what his Zoma kill time was, but I think he got a casual marathon sub 3. Or very close to it.
Beautiful.
Both of these runners had an incredibly impressive run. Darko had so much stuff thrown at him, and he handled it amazingly. Just like Pop the difference between their runs is kind of insane because Pop got really, really good luck for a lot of it, the grind especially, and he was a lot better set up to fight Zoma, but Darko just kind of at every turn there was one thing that tripped him up. You know, the Sage died, or two of his characters died in the Jimmy Tower, and it's just kind of like one little thing went wrong, every now and then, and he just handled it so gracefully. Like, what a fantastic race.
Yeah, we were saying this during the grind, but it's so hard to keep up your execution on top of keeping up your decision making. This game is incredibly demanding with incredibly fast, responsive menus, and you have to think about what you're doing at the same time as executing it. And just seeing it in the hype of a race, I'm not sure that these guys knew where each other were, but any race that's tied going into Zoma could totally swing any way, and it's all up to you to make it happen. So think about it. Pop entered Zoma fight it was 30 seconds or a minute behind, and he came out probably 3 or 4 minutes ahead. And that's showing you the power of the different routing and the strats of maybe it wasn't just the King Sword, but it was the combination of Pop's experience, the King Sword route, getting the extra liquid metal slime kill, and just being able to have a slightly cleaner fight makes all the difference. And yeah, it's super cool to see a race go all the way through, all the way up till Zoma. It's so hot. It's so cool.
And it's wild that both of these runners finished without a disaster on either end. I mean, nobody wiped. There was no oh man, I game over. Pop had some pretty bad luck early game, but he pressed on, and that was about as good of a recovery as you could ask for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic race.
Yeah, these guys are so talented. You have to follow these guys. Like, you have to. It's not an option. Like, this game is so prolific, and both of these guys are incredibly talented, and they actively play Dragon Quest. And yeah, the idea is that it's like, I think Dragon Quest is just one of those hard things to dispel, because you think like, oh, I wouldn't think of that as speedrunning. It is speedrunning. It's the core of speedrunning for RPGs, in my opinion. And it's
Absolutely.
like, it's so competitive, and it's so like, there's so much history behind it. And if you're interested at all in like RPG speedruns, I think you got to show some respect to the DQ boys, because like, as evident here, this was a hot race. It was super close, and like, there's so much talent that goes behind this. So like, you got to show some respect. And like, I have nothing but respect for these two guys and a lot of other runners. So
yeah, man, Dragon Quest RTA is some of the most entertaining, edge of your seat RPG speedrun action. And it's like, you would laugh at that statement on its own, but like, seriously, like, some of the decisions that these people are making. I mean, we talked about how heavily the decision making weighs on you as a runner, but a lot of the decisions that they had to make are life or death. It's like, if I make the wrong decision, I'm wiped, or this character loses a ton of experience, or I lose the fight. That weighs heavily on your mind, and that's something that you have to get used to as an experienced runner of this game. And Pop, again, with the, like, it was a 2:59:30 or so. That is a fantastic marathon time. Absolutely.
beautiful. Well, these guys must be happy. First place, second place doesn't really matter. Getting through a relatively clean run of Dragon Quest III is no matter what, you gotta take it and just be happy with it. And these two, they just perform so well. So happy for them.
Yeah, man, and listen to this credit song. You earned it. It's great. It's very emotional. Like, every time you finish a run of this game, it's you feel it. I mean, the Zoma fight is so tense. Like, no matter how much experience you have with this game, no matter how many times you've drilled that fight, when you're in a race setting or you're on pace, like, that fight is intense because it's never ever the same.
Totally.
Very, very nice run.
Hey guys,
Hey.
Hello.
I just got to point out that was a pretty darn good race to get comfy for. Like, I got so comfy watching that race.
I don't know how you could get comfy with that Zoma fight, dude. I was on the edge of my seat.
Oh, I mean, I was on the edge of my seat too, but let me tell you, when you're in full recline and you're that excited, like, that's perfect. It was so good.
There. Yeah, there you go. That's living, baby.
It was living for sure. I gotta say, I don't think we could have expected a closer race than that.
No, especially with such a volatile speedrun. Like, the fact that this ended, within 4 minutes, 3 minutes of each other is insane.
Yeah, for sure. I did get one.
So,
sorry.
Go ahead.
I just want to read one more donation quick. We got there. $30 from Arceus, and the comment is DQ hype. And I think that pretty much summarizes the race there.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think that being said, we're kind of ending up on Darko's credits here. So yeah, between me and Countdown, we were like super excited to kind of host this race, and yeah, just to kind of send off the RTA segment of JRTA. It's super cool. Thank you everybody who was watching, and stick around for the shall I say shenanigans that are coming next that I'll let Golden talk about. But
Yeah, I
thanks
suppose
for
that's
having us.
I suppose that's fair. You guys are welcome to stick around if you want, or whatever. It's up to you.
Well, I will be.
Yes.
But I also just want to give a quick shout out to Golden and Cassisby and Scent and all of the restreamers and people that put this together, that put the schedule together, the logistics, hassling everybody, making sure everybody's in Discord. Like, this was hard work. And like this goal would not have been met without your hard work. So thank you all so much for making this happen. I know on behalf of the Japanese runners that are extraordinarily grateful that we made this happen. I'm so excited to meet them every year. It's always a pleasure. So thank you to everybody that made this possible. Donators, organizers, runners, anybody that volunteered their time. Thank you. Even the viewers, especially the viewers.
Well spoken. Okay, I'm gonna go through really quickly here because you know me, I like to kind of keep it succinct, but we have a lot of people that we want to just kind of thank for the event. Before we get to, by the way, stick around because we do have another game coming. I didn't stop the clock here. I got so distracted. All right. Well, we'll pretend I stopped the clock somewhere in there. All right. You guys figure out what the final times were. Anyway, we have a lot of people to thank here for their time this weekend. We had 4 restreamers holding down the entire stream, myself included, but we had Cassis B, Hagspam, and Oxwis handling the restreaming all weekend. So thanks for not only being available for that long, but also some of those slots aren't exactly the friendliest time slots for people's sleep schedules. So much appreciated that you guys handled some of those really nasty ones. For donation reading, we had Rename, who, by the way, I can't believe Rename. This was his first marathon he's taken part in. He should do more. He's good. Rename was really good on donation. We had Carter on donations. Darkman was on donations really early in the morning, too, so appreciate that. Hoishin was in reading some donations early in the morning as well. Was glad to see him getting involved. Raindrop Dry on the mic. We had BJW on the mic at one point. We had Sent, Nox, and Caeruleus, who is really a true friend of the stream.
He's a man of the people.
He is. One other thing I want to point out, too, Hoishin not only was reading the donations, but he's also been helping me to get in contact with the runners. And he's kind of kept open lines of communication between me and the runners, because this is the first year, really, where I feel like the runners that we raised money for this year weren't as, I think, well known in kind of our circle. So it was a little bit trickier to kind of establish some of that early communication, and Hoishin really helped with that. So much appreciated. Tonic actually made these beautiful layouts that you're looking at. I love them. They're wonderful. Just like a splash of foliage in the background.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so much appreciated there. The artwork that you see on the screen, and of course the emotes that you're typing in the chat, are courtesy of K-Doodle. Check her out there. By the way, all these people that I'm mentioning are listed in the Twitch panel in the credits section, so you should check the credits section and check some of these people out. I want to thank Retro Psycho for providing all of the prizes for the event. Please do us a favor and check them out on eBay. Their link is in the credits. They've been supplying prizes to JRTA since it began, and they're also very knowledgeable about speedrunning needs in particular. So if you need a, like the optimal cart for your speed game, odds are they'll know about it and send you the right one. So definitely give them the once over on eBay at a minimum. I think they're a really great store. And of course, thanks to all the runners that we raised money for as well, that every one of them participated in this marathon. We had Poir and Yamayu racing Yoshi's Island the other night. Zaraki and Shoka had also raced Mega Man 2 earlier in the marathon, so it was cool to see all 4 of them participating. Definitely looking forward to seeing them on the GDQ stage. And of course, thanks to everybody that's been watching all weekend and hanging out. The thing for me that I really appreciated was just people's commitment to this marathon. It feels like the number of times this weekend that I heard somebody say, "Oh, this is my favorite marathon," my favorite online marathon. Whether that was a runner that was actually in the event or just people watching, it was frequent enough to make me start to kind of, feel pretty good about it. So you guys have a way with words, I guess. But I definitely appreciated that you guys feel that way. And glad that I could help you guys get to do this again. This is awesome. I didn't actually think $7,500. I thought, you know, this year being the first time we tried to raise money for 4 people is going to be pretty tricky. And thankfully and generously, you guys rallied behind it again, made it happen, and it's going to be an awesome AGDQ. I'm looking forward to it.
Beautifully said. You just have to, anybody watching the stream, like Countdown said it too, this is Golden's project and world, and he makes it happen. He puts so much effort into it. So definitely shout him out and give him some credit if you see him around.
Hell yeah, dude.
Definitely. Definitely gotta give big shout outs to Golden, who, like, throughout this past 2 weeks when we've been setting this up, you could tell how much he cares about it. He worries about it so much. And the marathon is as good as it is because Golden puts an enormous amount of effort into it. And it just wouldn't be the same without him.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. And Cassidy, same thing to you, man. You put in a, you know, you want to give me credit for putting in a lot of effort. You put in a lot of effort yourself. So everybody in this call puts in a lot of effort, which is what I like. You know, I can rely on these people to show up and make this happen. And that's the best part about it. We've got a little community here, a little family. And I was trying to count now, and I'm getting distracted because I'm forgetting how many people we've duplicated over JRTA, but I think we're either at the point now where we've had 10 runners come over, or we're just underneath 10. So
yeah, and that's fantastic. I mean, you guys making this happen and allowing this bridge to be created between the Western and Japanese speedrunning communities is fantastic. A bridge thought uncrossable at times in the past.
Yeah.
So thank you guys again.
Yeah, I really think that this just benefits the community overall. And if you guys are going to HDQ and you get the chance to just find any of these guys for a couple minutes to talk to them, I mean, they feel like rock stars when they're over here too. I've talked to, you know, some of the other Japanese runners that have come over in the past, and they love it. They love talking to meeting people. So definitely, if you get a chance for a conversation or just to say, hey, you know, wish them luck for their runs when you're there, absolutely take the opportunity to do that. Now, all that being said, I guess there is one more order of business here on the schedule.
Oh, yeah?
And we're not done yet. That was the last speed run.
That was the last speed run.
However, we did have one final incentive. So if you don't mind, I'd like to reveal the winner.
Okay, sure, dude.
All right, in second place, with $726.89, it's Mario Party 3. But the winner, drum roll please, with $1,053.99 is Mario Party 2. So we're going to play Mario Party 2 on the stream. Yay, round of applause. There we go.
Oh, baby.
Oh, baby. For the fans, we're playing Mario Party 2 coming up next on the stream. So
Enemies of the stream be damned.
Enemies of the stream. You could have rallied behind your cause, but the true friends prevailed.
Oh yeah, one item is all we need. That's all I need to secure victory.
All right, shall we announce the players? I think they've been set on stream before, but we might as well say who's playing.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I don't know if this surprises anybody, but our very own Used Pizza is going to be playing.
What?
Yeah.
The Mario Party crook. He is a thief. At Mario Party.
Yes. We've also got live from his mom's basement. It's Nox.
It's Conks.
Zonk. Also, we've got Mugiwari no Ian. Do you guys know who that is?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay. Well, our boy Ivan is playing, guys.
Of course.
And last but not least, Dragon Quest III's commentary team representative. It's Countdown.
High
It's
five.
me. High five, dude. I won't let you down. I'm doing this
Hell
for
yeah.
DQRTA. In the name of DQRTA, I will slay these nerds live on stream.
Yeah.
Luzuhara. Yes. There we go. That's what I should have introduced him as. You're right. Okay, so I think what we're going to do at this point, I'm going to play some music for you while we set up for Mario Party, and then we'll be back with the bonus game. So stick around, everybody. Bonus streaming is still a thing, and it happens right now.
Oh yeah.
Stick around. We'll set up here and be ready in just a couple minutes.